You are now listening to N21FM, a Pokemon TCG podcast. I'm your host, Glenn S., and I am joined today by an old friend of the show, still current record holder for the longest episode by 5 minutes, Will Packett, and another member of Unplugged Gaming, Chris. Welcome to the show, guys. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Glad to be back.
Absolutely. And last time, Will, that you were on, we had a different member of Unplugged in the form of Jay, right?
Correct.
Jay was his name.
Yep.
He is not with us tonight. I'm excited, though, to meet Chris instead. Not taking the place of, but to supplement more members of Unplugged. I'm always excited to learn more about you guys' team and what you're doing up in New York. So, Chris, if you don't mind, please introduce yourself to the folks listening or watching at home.
Yes, my name is Chris. I started playing Pokemon TCG like a year and a half ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit less, but I played Yu-Gi-Oh for a long time, like on and off competitively since like 2008 or something. And then I actually played Pokemon video game for like 3 or 4 years, and then I quit around when they introduced like the mid-season showdown stuff because I had to go too far away to get a small number of points. So I kind of stopped playing around then. But yeah, I picked up TCG sometime last year.
Very nice. Do you remember around what set?
It was after Paldea evolved because I won a Yu-Gi-Oh 1K and then I kept all the money and bought Pokemon set when it came.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. It's cool that you're coming from Yu-Gi-Oh. What do you think about the format currently and how it compares to Yu-Gi-Oh as a game?
The current Pokemon format feels most like Yu-Gi-Oh than any format so far since I've played. It's very fast.
Definitely inclined to agree.
Yeah, games are decided really quickly. Games don't really, like, you can kind of tell if you're winning or losing by turn like 3, and it hasn't felt like that yet since I've been playing. So.
Well, yeah, we'll definitely talk a little bit about the blights of the modern meta here in a little bit, but for the time being, I'm definitely interested in learning more about you. Will, we've had your interview in the past, and I will refer to the folks at home to Season 1, Episode 5 for your full interview segment. But Chris, what do you do outside of Pokemon and card games in general?
Aside from card games, I play I play too many video games. I played a lot of sports way back in high school, and so I had to. I'm a very competitive person, so I had to find a way to shift the competitiveness somewhere else. So just kind of naturally evolved into like video games and card games. But I mean, other than that, I go to work 9 to 5. I sit in a cubicle. Yeah. Nothing special. So.
I totally get that. Any video games that you've been having a lot of fun with lately?
Lately, I've been playing like MMOs like Final Fantasy and Lost Ark. A lot. I spent a lot of time in the past on things like Apex and Counter-Strike.
Nice. Well, one of those is nice.
But
I'll let the viewers decide which.
Yeah, mystery. But no, not any. I haven't been playing anything competitive video game wise lately. I've been kind of slowed down a little bit.
Nice. I totally get that. I've been out of the video game loop myself. I think the next big one I'm looking forward to is the Epic Mickey remaster that came out. I think just is it out today? I think it's out today. This is breaking news live from the N21FM show floor. I think Epic Mickey Rebrush just came out. No, it came out a couple days ago. I saw it on our store shelf. Sorry, I totally got sidetracked.
I remember trying to beat the first version of that with the nunchuck.
Yeah, terrible
instead
experience.
Of just using a console like paddle, and that was like so hard.
Yes, it was a tough game. One of my favorite games of all time, probably. And oh man, something about the Wii controller, man. It was innovative, but I'm glad we're away from that.
Yeah,
it's kind of like it has the same feeling as like the N64 controller. Yeah, the N64. Oh, this is cool, but like,
why? I don't have 3 hands. There's no need for this.
I do like the idea that like it changes depending on what game you're playing. Like,
yes,
that's always kind of neat, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So back to kind of wanna continue learning a little bit more about Chris. What's your experience been like, just with being a sponsored player, right? Like being on Unplugged as a team. What does that kind of look like for you? How long has that been going on?
Since around like about a year, I guess.
Okay.
Around roughly 1 year ago. It was like after Toronto regionals last year, they approached me about it. Like Will and Eric. I don't know. It's cool. I get to rep the shirt, rep the team at events like cups and challenges and regionals and everything else. It's been pretty cool. I guess the big thing for me was like when I switched over from Yu-Gi-Oh to Pokemon. I was kind of hesitant to do it, even though I didn't want to play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore at the time. Only because like, and I don't know if anyone's switched card games, you can probably relate. It's like I was unsure if I'd be able to find a group of people to connect with and like learn with. Because you're like stepping into a new community, right? And like as much as I didn't want to play Yu-Gi-Oh at the time, the people in Yu-Gi-Oh locally here were great. I've known some of them for like half my life. So I really liked hanging out with them and learning and playing with them. And I didn't know if I was going to get that going to Pokemon. But it's been nice with the team. Like they were like super like excited and like happy to help when I was first getting into it. So
that's really good. Yeah, I'm super glad of that. I remember, who was your first kind of point of contact with Unplugged?
When I went like the first time ever to Unplugged to play, I think the first person that was on the team, the team wasn't a thing at the time, but the first person I met that was on the team now is Alec. I think I played him like round 3 or something the first time I went. And that was like my first experience with anyone on the team.
Nice. That's super cool.
I played your mom, like her first time ever playing the game.
Yeah, probably.
I was playing like Arceus Rayquaza.
Yeah.
So I was playing this super weird, complicated deck, and she had just started playing.
Oh my goodness!
I can imagine it was a nightmare.
Oh wow!
Yep.
I really thought that was just a burn for a second.
Oh no. No, it's a whole thing. So when I switched over to Yu-Gi-Oh to play Pokemon, I asked my mom, I was like, I'm gonna play Pokemon, you wanna play? And she was like, okay. And so I handed her the Mew VMAX deck and we figured out how to play.
Goated deck. That's a great deck to learn on. It's also like getting a person addicted to crack. For sure, because you're never gonna find a deck that plays that like that again.
Well, yeah. And it's funny too, because she would always yell at me growing up, like, stop buying all these cards, whatever, you don't need all these things. And then now after Pittsburgh regionals last year, after the first regional, I bought her like the black and gold Mews, the ones I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I've always been like a person who buys like blingy cards, like that's just the kind of person I am.
Yeah.
And so the first like 10 seconds I was in Pittsburgh regional, I bought 4 gold Ultra Balls. Ooh. And my mom was like, what are you doing? And but when we left, I bought her those, and I was like, that we have Bucci cards in this house, and now she's addicted to having high rarity stuff.
That's awesome.
And she's a legit player too.
Yeah.
Oh, for real?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely awesome. We'll have to have her on at some point then.
Yeah, right.
That'll be sick.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That's really cool. So and this is kind of it's tough to kind of like transition to this, but what is kind of like your role in the team? Is there anything that separates, like, do you guys have different roles? Is there something that you have a specialty in when it comes to like, whether it's as simple as like, oh, I'm the guy who drives when we carpool, like, or I book the hotel, or like I'm the one coming up with off the wall text to put into a deck, or I'm the one like reading the meta forecast weeks ahead of time to figure it out. Like,
yeah, we have some people, so there's not really like a set divide of like what we do in the team or anything like that, or right now at least. Maybe there will be in the future, but like Will posts a lot of the dates and times for the cups and challenges and stuff that we want to go to. So we have like in our Discord, we have like the schedule, the calendar. He puts all those in. Like, I mean, as far as I go, like I post a lot. I think I post probably like the most random deck lists in the Discord. I just like post screenshots of deck lists.
You're sort of the is this bad guy too? Like
yeah.
I'm like, here's 29 of 60, here's number 60, and you're like, no, and here's why.
Well, yeah. I probably offer my opinion maybe too much, but
no, it's good.
Like someone will post a deck list, and like for better or worse, I'm like the first person to say, "Do you need this card? Is that really necessary?"
Yeah,
and then like I have to backpedal. Like, am I being rude?
By being no, it's never rude. No, we need to have that conversation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool though. It's good to have a critical eye looking at deck lists. That's super cool.
Yeah. So that's like he's the devil's advocate, sort of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Even outside of Pokemon, I'll play devil's advocate every day of the week. Like I just. But what if
So what about this? Yeah. That's so sick. Oh man. Wow. That's really interesting. I like having that critical eye for sure. Because I know I don't have one of those. I will pick up any deck list, as bad as it may be. Like I was playing for very briefly, mind you, but there was a point in time where I remember playing Pokestop Darkrai V-Star, and I was like, "This is the best deck in the format," and I love it, and it's so good. And it wasn't. It was terrible. It was a terrible deck, but it was so fun, and I was like, "This is a good time. I'm having fun. I'm getting some wins, so I'll just keep playing it."
I think it's going to be more fruitful. Like, so Toronto will be our first opportunity to like really assemble like a team list.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get into it sort of as this goes on, but we kind of took our feet off of the gas pedals a little bit this season.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons. So Toronto is going to be like our first opportunity to like take a 60 as 4, 5, 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
And like really like go at it. So I think the critical eye for 5 of 60 cards is going to be that much more important.
That's going to be so
when
important.
It's affecting the tournament play of a small handful of people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Deck decisions are super important. Along those same lines, and we talked kind of about like bonds to cool cards and like cool deck lists. Do you have any big favorites of your own? Anything that you're just like really excited or partial for? Any Pokemon in general that like the design of or just the character of you've become rather fond of due to like whether a VGC team that you played in the past or a deck list that you're a fan of? Anything like that?
So it's kind of like story, like it's kind of a long story and it sort of interconnects, but
go ahead.
So I played VGC, like I said, from like 2013 to 2016 time frame. I think I stopped at the end of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple. I did like okay at a lot of tournaments, but there was one tournament I did really well in, and I played Mega Charizard Y to that tournament with like a bunch of other, like Rotom and Cobalion and some other stuff. But
yeah,
so I played Mega Charizard Y. That was like my favorite Mega of the format. So when I switched over to TCG like last year, there was Obsidian Flames came out and there was Charizard, obviously, right?
Yes.
And so I like read the card, and mind you, this is like I'm like 3 months into play, maybe not even like 3 or 4 months into playing the game, and I read Charizard and I was like, this is like a good card. Like I think, so I was actually at the time I was, and I don't like doing this normally, but at the time I was taking like lessons with Gabe Smart,
okay.
and like I'm not like normally one to do that because I was like, I know how to play card games, I don't need to do this, but I wanted to kind of like accelerate like my like learning like the nuances of Pokemon versus like coming from Yu-Gi-Oh.
Sure.
And so I brought it up to him because originally I didn't like, I was like, we're gonna do Gardevoir, and then Charizard came out and I was like, we're gonna do Charizard, and he was like, yep, that's a good card. So
it's a very good card.
And then so last season I played a lot of Charizard, and I played I went 5-3-1 at too many regionals with it. I kept missing day 2, and then at some point I had been playing the deck for too long, and I started doing way worse. So
no,
it was one of those things where like I like overcooked the deck.
Been there
at some point, but I didn't want to get off it because I was like, I just started playing the game and I was like scared that I was like not good, and I was like just getting carried by Charizard at some point. So I had like this existential crisis in my first year of playing. But yeah, Charizard, that's the card. That's the Pokemon.
Love that. I love that. Charizard's a good card. Very good card. It's cool that you were using it competitively as well in VGC, because I don't know, it's always nice when you have something that like translates over to being good from one game to another. I know like some of my friends who are really enjoying like Incineroar EX right now, and Incineroar also happens to be busted in VGC. So it's cool that there's some overlap in the games like that.
Yeah, my VGC friends always ask me like, when Iron Hands had a lot of talk around it, they were like, "Is Iron Hands Chien-Pao like broken in TCG2?" And I was like, "Nah, actually, now that you say it,
Kinda, yeah."
So
I wish it was. I wish it was more broken, but unfortunately, it's not very good.
Yeah,
it's never like bad.
Never bad. Never bad. But definitely never the top contender either.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like if you're good at it, you can win with it always.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've had this discussion with a couple of people before where it's like that you have like the meta triangle, and then you have like decks that exist separate from the meta triangle, but they're fine, and like Chien-Pao just falls into that category.
One of which right now, and this is the sauce to get on for whatever your next event is Lost Tina. 100%. No, seriously, Lost Tina's bananas right now. It's so good.
It's take your word for it.
That's okay. You can. You don't have to. What is
Dreadnought?
That's the sauce.
That's the sauce.
All right.
Pikachu that gives up less prizes.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, sure. You just outrogued me talking about Lost Tina in this format. I'm gonna let you have it. That's totally fine. Oh man, that's super cool. So what is this season looking like for you guys? I mean, we talked kind of about you're stepping off the gas a little bit. Why is that? Is there anything in particular that motivated that decision?
I think the end of last season, I mean, the new Worlds regulations, like, not to sound pessimistic, but it took the wind out of our sails a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially there's a few of us that, like, as we approached the end of the season, had that, like, we could sniff it. Like, I was at 350 something. Chris was, I think, in the 400s. Like, Eric was in the high 2s, low 3s. Like, just like, man, one IC performance could maybe do this, right?
Yeah.
And then like you have a decent season like that, and like well, if I just start earlier and commit harder, I have like a really good shot at it. And then they're like, basically, if you have a life outside of Pokemon, you're gonna have a really hard time.
Yeah, very much so.
So, the nice thing is like, I think we all accepted like that's okay.
Yeah.
And like our priorities in the game just shifted and whatnot, but that did allow us like really, I would say our season started a couple weeks ago, like fairly aggressively. There's a lot of people like end of July, early August were already like grinding.
Yeah, I
You're
definitely
able to, like, wait it out.
Yeah, I find myself starting way later than most of the people I know. There's people who in my circle who get started like as soon as Worlds is over, or like the weekend of Worlds, they won't even be watching. They're like, I'm grinding a cup right now. I have things to do. I can't be bothered. And it's like, all right, dude, whatever you want to do, but I'm gonna take a second.
Yeah,
that's super cool. Has there been any new challenges or anything aside from like just observing kind of like what the Pokemon Company is setting teams and players up for, and realizing that that's not necessarily feasible all the time for you guys, or anything else like that? Any other like major challenges or just kind of new things, any wrenches thrown in your plans other than that?
I think for me, like, so last year I probably, and Will can attest this, I probably went to too many regionals. But it's interesting this year seeing that there are considerably less regionals in the US or North America in general. Because last year I felt like I was at a different regional every couple of weeks, and then this year I did Baltimore, and then the next one's Toronto that I'm doing. I didn't do wherever they just were, Louisville. Yeah. I didn't do Louisville because it was like annoying to get to, like as far as travel goes.
For us, it's very expensive.
Yeah, but like even if I had like, I mean, that would have been 3 in like 4 months. Where like last year, I think in 4 months I did like 6. You know, it's like it just feels so different.
You only missed like 2 North American.
Yeah, I didn't go to Sacramento, and I didn't go to San Antonio. And I didn't go to
Vancouver.
I didn't go to Vancouver, but I went to like everything else. Yeah. So
that's cool. Interesting. Yeah, no, it definitely feels like regionals and honestly like Pokemon news in general is much more sparse this season, despite the fact that it feels like we're getting sets faster. And I don't know what that's indicative of in design philosophy for the game, but I'm definitely interested to see what it looks like.
I think they're like working on 2 ends of a polarity.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think they realize how hard and not restrictive but like limited they've made it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it felt coming out of COVID a little too easy. And I think like we might see some more amendments. Sorry about that.
That's okay. My cat's
someone
clawing at the door right now.
Walked by my house.
It's totally fine.
How dare they? I think we might see some more amendments to kind of like meet in the middle a little bit. That would be my hope.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you have like top level players saying they're backing out of regionals now because it's not worth it anymore.
That is a big indicator for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there will be some kind of backpedaling right now, just because there was pretty widespread backlash when the new tournament structure stuff was announced. But that's I don't know. That's kind of neither here nor there. I'm sure that there's going to be changes made over time. That's just the nature of in an evolving and growing game, like what is going to happen. But further with that, so like, do you guys have any what are your major goals for this season? If Worlds invite is for sure out of reach, or if it's even if it's not, what does it look like then as a team to kind of be like, well, maybe this isn't what we shoot for, but maybe this is. Is it like an increase of average like wins per tournament? Is it an increase in working in that like team structure where you, like you mentioned, you finally started getting on like one team 60 that you decided to take to tournaments and improving your ability to like read the metagame in that capacity? What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, go ahead. No, you're good.
Okay. I think something we've talked about a lot is like community growth.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have a fairly strong group of like junior seniors.
Yeah.
But it's still like, 6-7 people.
Yeah.
So we've talked about like committing to like hosting learn to plays and stuff like that during school breaks in an effort to kind of promote that youth culture into the game.
Absolutely.
So that it can continue to prosper when like eventually we're like too old or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, whatever that means. But like I'm not that far from 40. So it is smart to say like, hey, it would be good if more 11 and 12-year-olds were playing this game.
Yeah.
And I think we were a little smarter this year, knowing like we wanted to hit more cups and challenges kind of as our core of the season. Last year we used to scrub each other out of tournaments like crazy. Like 5 of us would hop in a car and go play the same tournament. And like all of us performing well would literally just melee each other for the last 2-3 rounds. And then like half of us aren't doing anything.
Gotcha.
So now we've kind of broken the state up almost into like regions that we're like covering.
That's cool.
And we've seen a lot more success because of it.
That's interesting. I never thought about that. Because like most of the time when I play with people, we're always at the same tournament and not necessarily like iron sharpening iron in that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's if you have like a group like we do that want to go to everything, like 3 or 4 or 5 people all the time that want to go to everything. If you roll up to a tournament that gets 14 people and you add 5 of your group to it, not everyone can do well. So
yeah, for sure.
We have to like you said, we kind of split it up. I go east, Will goes south. Or you go north too sometimes. I
kind of cover like the whole middle. Like
yeah.
Like the 81 stretch.
And then like Jay goes west. So he's out in Rochester a lot too. It's kind of interesting how we just naturally have places that we like gravitate to more. like some of us have friends in those areas and stuff too, so it makes it easier.
Cool. Yeah, that's really cool. So in that, right, when you're like kind of moving to like all these different places, but in the same like area, do you guys have you kind of like made a name for yourselves within that New York group of card shops? Or like people starting to realize, like catch on, like start to ask like what is like who's Unplugged, right? Have you guys gotten those questions from like other shop owners?
I don't know about Will, but I know when I go to Albany a lot, to Eastern New York, Saratoga, Albany, all around that area. And one of the shop owners out there, Andy, he used to do judging at like every event. Like last year, he's at every single event. If you went to an event, you saw him. And he owns a card shop down there, and he's always asking me like if I'm coming out. Because I stay with my friend. What I'll do is I'll go stay with a friend there for the weekend. I'll hit like 2 or 3 events in the weekend.
Yeah.
So he's always asking me if I'm going out there, and then whenever I do show up, all the guys there are always like, the legend himself. Like, so,
that's awesome.
It's funny when I show up there. It's kind of cool, and like they always ask like when we're doing stuff, like when is Unplugged's like seasonal, like when is their cup for the quarter, and a couple of them come out, so
that's cool. Okay, yeah, because you guys are based out of like technically just like Unplugged is technically just also a store, like not just the name of the team,
right?
Okay,
right,
yeah.
That's super cool.
The store is the team name.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you guys think you've like maybe increased the number of turnouts just from traveling statewide?
Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah,
so we are like double or triple the size. Like our premier events, challenges and cups are double to triple the size of like what you'll find around most of the state.
Holy smokes! Okay, do you think it's maybe
our cups are around 50 people?
Wow, that's a lot. That is not a number to scoff at. Holy cow!
Yeah, and it's not like one time. Like it's 50 like every time.
Oh my gosh! Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so like our goal in that respect is like Chris and I both top 8'd our local cup last time. Like that feels successful. Like 4 of us were able to wade through that. You know what I mean?
I had to beat him. I had to beat him in top 8. But
gotta do it to him. Absolutely.
And so it's again, it's bound to happen, right?
Yeah.
I could not. Lost Box. My comfies were not selecting. Is what I'll say.
Oh no! Always selecting the wrong flowers. You hate to see it.
Yeah, the bear was prized.
No,
that did not help.
Bear.
Yeah, did not help.
Yeah, that'll do it to you for sure. And what were you playing at that, Chris?
I was playing Reggie Drago. That was pre
Curum.
Yeah, pre Curum. Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, thank God.
Yeah, but like the whole strat into that deck is like Sableye 4/4/4 bear super rod bear.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely not going to work out too well when your bear's priced.
No,
not at all. Oh man, I feel like there's so many decks that like would be so hype right now, including Lost Zone, that kind of aren't, and that's largely due to like the speed of the format right now. But like
but Reggie Drago kind of killed Lost Box for a little while.
That's true. This is super true.
Yeah, but Terrapagos getting bigger and diminishing Reggie Drago is the reason Lost Box did so well last weekend.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
It's a weird spot in the meta right now because on the one hand you've got like Reggie Drago on paper is such a well-balanced and well-rounded deck that can take care of most things really, really well. Especially with things like there are some people who shan't be named, but are really, really strong believers in the Briar tech in Reggie Drago. I am not one of these people. That does not sound like a good time to me. But it's cool that Reggie Drago is getting new tools, and so that like even decks that seem like really bad matchups across the board for Reggie Drago, like there's something in there for it, and it's even supposed to get new tools with Surging Sparks later on. But I mean, kind of, if you really want to count those tools. I don't think Tatsugiri EX is going into the Reggie Drago deck anytime soon.
The Executor though.
Maybe. Maybe.
It's a funny card. Yeah.
It's super funny. I do like that card, and I like flipping coins a lot too. Oh man. So what have been some of those like high points for you guys? You mentioned like the cup, the two of you in top 8 and that 50-person cup. Any other like really major highs for you guys so far?
You have a couple wins, right?
Yeah. Well, so I have
Sort of.
on paper I have 1 cup win.
Okay.
But I probably, if I played the other one, I probably would have a second one. Because I was playing Regidrago into Charizard, and it's just like a free win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back in like August or whatever. So, but I scooped to one of the guy that was there because he had already had 3 cup wins, and I was like whatever, we'll just get your 4th cup win and we'll go from there. So we had an agreement, and I was like, finish your cup season. He's like been doing really well, so I was like, whatever, like,
okay,
you got it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah,
It's
I guess
added benefit to, I think the one nice thing about us kind of backing off a little bit is we're able to kind of like make those decisions a little more like freely for the sake of friends, or like him, Chris helping out that person's season. Like to be finishing cups in September for that person is like a huge relief.
Yeah.
Plus, kind of frees up the next few events in that same area for Chris.
Yeah.
Because like that guy maybe not grinding that event so hard.
True.
But I top 8'd event we went to recently, and PJ Watuzik from Shuffle Squad.
Yeah.
And I paired, and I was playing Thorns and he was playing Lugia with no Fluttermane.
Cooked.
But the season and Worlds means a lot more to PJ than it does to me.
Right.
So because I've taken that pressure off myself, it was super easy to go, sure, let's go home. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And my friend needs this win. So.
Totally.
It was we were far away. We were like over an hour away from home, and it was
like already 10 p.m.
Yeah, so
we were top 8 at 10 p.m. Yeah.
Jeez, was it just starting top 8 too?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh god.
Yeah.
You guys were about to go till like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had like a pretty clear view to the win with Thorns.
Yeah.
And PJ knew that. Like he knew I was sacrificing a very good shot at a win. So basically, he was like, if like I'll give you whatever mat, like champion mat you want.
Yeah.
So because the points mean a lot to him. So I scored the Masquerada mat that I
Let's
never
go.
won. So
it's a good mat.
Honestly, to me, like I got to go. Like by the time he won the tournament, I was rolling into my driveway.
Nice.
So
absolutely,
we all won.
That's pretty good. Multiple winners. I feel like that's kind of the culture too at the more local scene when you've got that kind of understanding. I know a friend of mine recently like had at a pretty substantial cup had a situation sort of like that where they're like, look, let me just get the map. You got it from here. We'll play it out afterwards, but I'll just go ahead and give this to you because I know you need the points more than me.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really like as a member of the community for Pokemon specifically. Like I think that's something that I don't know what it's like for other card games, but I really like that dynamic and how reasonable people are in this game for the most part.
It's kind of cool because like you don't you don't get the same kind of thing in like Yu-Gi-Oh, for example. They don't have like a point format. Like they have a point format, but it's not like Pokemon. So like when you make those decisions with your friends or people that that you're like, you know what, like you're grinding for points, I'm not. I'm going to give you some points. Where like in Yu-Gi-Oh, the events are not. First of all, they're not as frequent. Those local style events that are like mean something, they're not as frequent.
Yeah.
And they don't have the same kind of point. It's just again, it exists, but it's not the same. So you don't really get that in that. So it's cool in Pokemon to like. It's just different, you know.
Yeah, certainly. Wow. Yeah, it's cool, and I think it's interesting how it even goes up to like the higher end, right? Because like Will, you and I met in the Goober brackets at Charlotte last year.
Yeah.
Just
one event sooner, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We would have killed. I would have seen you in the finals.
Chris went to Portland and like he came back. He's like, you should have brought Urshifu to Portland.
Brutal. Yeah. But like it was cool like meeting you. Like in that like we I don't remember any part of our game, but I do remember that you and I discussed like the list because we both played Rapid Strike and we literally just sat there and talked about the deck, about why it's fun, about like the spread strategy as a whole.
Yep.
And it's always cool like having the freedom to do that. Like I even the first time I ever went to a premiere event was the Charlotte regionals before that, the previous year, where I matched again Goober brackets because it was my first ever event. I had never done a Challenger Cup. So my first competitive experience was at Charlotte regionals, and I wound up I think round 3 or 4 against some guy playing Durant Mill, and I was playing Paul Kintel. And I was still like just barely holding on to the hope of like doing well, because he would have been my third loss if I lost to him. We ended up technically tying, but he gave me the win just because he's like, it's fine, dude. I don't even care. I'm probably just gonna go home from here. And I was like, I think I can come back from this. Spoilers, I didn't. But it's cool I love that sense of community that is kind of in this game, and what you can kind of do with it.
For me too, that's really nice, like when that'll happen, because I had winning in at Charlotte the previous year and kind of like had set some really high expectations and hopes for myself, and in a Charizard heavy format, like really felt good about Urshifu.
Yeah.
And then like by the time you and I played, it was over for me for the day.
Yeah.
And like literally you and I played, had a great conversation, a great time, and then I dropped the tournament because it was like the next round's not going to be that.
Mm-hmm.
So like literally like meeting you and having a great experience was enough for me to like had a good enough tournament. Like let's go get lunch.
Nice.
So
hey, that's part of what makes this game so fun. For sure. Speaking of big tournaments, unfortunately we do kind of have to pivot away from the positivity.
We're good.
Let's talk about what's coming up in the future. And kind of what the tournament scene looks like at large, and some struggles, some conversations that have been happening in my circles, in your circles, in most people's circles, right? So there's a lot going on right now. For anybody at home who does not kind of know the state of tournament structure for Pokemon, first of all, this year it is way harder, like we said, to get a Worlds invite unless you are consistently performing really, really well at regional events. There used to be a means by which that you could go to a bunch of local events, cups, challenges, etc., and slay out there, and it would get you the points you need to get a Worlds invite. That is no more, and this is kind of old news now, but it's becoming more magnified by other problems that we're having with tournament structure and organization. Will, what do you think about the current state of things?
Yeah, I think that's what's hard about it, is it feels like the double whammy a little bit. Like I don't know that he would ever express this much like pessimism, but I think like it was pretty easy to see like Alex Szymanski like felt incredibly disappointed.
Yeah.
Like after Louisville, I think it was after Louisville, because felt like he had a great tournament, but because he happened to go 6-2 or whatever in the first day, like basically had outright zero chance at topping the tournament.
Yeah.
And like think about some of our recent winners, like and incredibly good performers, like Hedrick would not have won NAIC under the current like the way things break away. Yeah. Like with the way it cuts, he would have not even been in the top. And like
which
probably
is
one
crazy.
Of the most excellent day 2 performances we've ever seen in an IC. And he's probably one of the best up and comers in the game. So to have like been robbed of the experience to see him win the way he did, would have been like really shocking or really disappointing, I guess.
Definitely.
And we discussed earlier a little bit, like, JW Krewall, like for better or worse, one of the biggest characters, I guess, in the game of Pokemon.
Yes.
Incredible player, good content creator. Obviously, his group is incredibly successful.
Yeah.
Some of the most popular and well-performing people in the game.
Definitely like a household name in Pokemon TCG stuff.
Exactly. It's like Mahone, Parker, Krewall. Like,
that's a trio. You probably
right?
know those names. If you're watching this podcast, you definitely know those names.
Exactly. So, like, for him to say, I don't even know if I want to do this right now, is like really disappointing.
Yeah. Which, granted, he's got other stuff going on, but regardless,
But that factors in, right? Like, I have this other stuff, and now it's so hard. Why,
Right.
Whereas maybe he would have prioritized being a part of it.
Well, and that's another conversation too, is like having a life should not disqualify you from being able to do something you really love, especially something that you do not full-time professionally, but definitely on the more competitive side of things. If you've been on stream at some point, you should be able to have a functional adult life and still be able to come up and show up to Pokemon tournaments. I don't think that those two things have to be mutually exclusive. And I think it's indicative of a really poor handling of the immense growth of the game in recent history. Just on TPCI's part. Because, like, you got to think, like, we have more people playing now than ever, right? And it's one thing to be like, we can only have so many at Worlds. I get that. That's totally reasonable. We got to keep Worlds to a substantial size. Not everybody can get in. But it's another thing entirely to have somebody who needs to go pretty much flawless day one to even have a shot of top cut, right? And there's something to be said for like, oh, the best of the best should be top cut, which is true, but it's also a card game, right? This is not chess. There is, like, as much as we'd like it to be, and as much as, like, in our heads, like, we as players understand the nuances of the game to the point where we can make it feel like chess, it is still a card game with inherent randomness. Sometimes you do prize your bear and have a really hard time getting back into the game. Sometimes you just start like the worst start. Sometimes you start Pheasantipity EX and don't draw anything for 3 turns. And at this point in the game, especially with how fast the meta is, like we've been saying, 3 turns is enough to get you out of the game entirely. And then you're down half of the set. And if you lose the second game, you might as well be out of day 2. And that's a problem.
Yeah, I have some pretty strong opinions about the way that the tournaments are set up right now, and it's so. I like I said before, I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and I have this for reference just in case this comes up. But so we all know how the Pokemon day 1 and 2 formats work right now.
Yeah.
It's depending on the number of players, it's 8 or 9 rounds day 1, and then day 2 is what, 3 or 4 or whatever it is. And then they top 8 cut asymmetrical could be 9, 10, up to 16.
Yeah,
I think it technically, mathematically caps at 32, but that's never going to happen.
right.
And so for Yu-Gi-Oh, what they do is depending on the number of players. So we'll do the 2049 number, like the highest number for comparison, right? So for Yu-Gi-Oh, it's 12 rounds day 1. Or no, I'm sorry, 9 rounds day 1. It's 12 total. Whoa. It's 9 rounds day 1.
That
sorry,
scared me, dude.
I read the wrong line. 9 rounds day 1 and 3 rounds day 2.
Yeah.
So it is a low number day 2, but they cut to top 64.
Oh.
Regardless, doesn't matter what anyone's records are. It's not asymmetrical. It's just top 64.
Okay.
So you're going to encompass most of the players that performed well, right?
Yeah.
And then you just let them play off to win. So like if you had maybe you had a couple rough rounds and you went what is this, 10 and 2 or 9 and 3 or something, you squeak into a top 64 with 9 and 3, but like you're a good player and you've played well and like you can win.
Yeah.
Where at Louisville we saw players that went 10 and 2, which is an insane
10 and
record.
2 is crazy.
Like going 10 and 2 at a large tournament with 2,000 plus players. Anyone who has done that or plays card games knows that that's insane. And to not have an opportunity to win the tournament at 10 and 2 is absurd in my mind. Completely unacceptable. So I always think back to the Yu-Gi-Oh format when I do that. It's like why are we not just having top 64 cut? Why are we not having top 32? Even last year I was like it, in theory it was better last year because lower record could get in, but it's still only top 8. So it's like why are we not cutting 16, 32, 64? Like there are so many people at this tournament. Like you can't, you can be the best player in the room and you can't be perfect. Like you're going to get, like you said, it's RNG. You're going to get bad hands. You're going to get bad starts. And Pokemon's even worse with it because there are prizes.
Yeah.
So
that is a really big point for sure. Yeah. And what's crazy about that to me is like, I really think it falls on a mishandling of the growth of the game from TPCI. especially this year. I don't know what your experience has been like with the current tournaments, because I'm pretty sure they switched. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they switched to an in-house TO. So it's not like Day 2 or Overload doing events this year. It's all this proprietary, not like in-house necessarily, but I'm pretty sure like moving toward it's one organizer running.
It's one organizer.
Okay, yeah.
Gaming Gen or whatever, game Gen, whatever it is this year. And I can be corrected if I'm wrong here, but I believe they were the company. So last year, if you were at any of the tournaments and you saw the video games that they have there to play, like Pokemon Stadium and stuff, like they provided that, like to my understanding. And so now they're doing the whole organization, and like that's fine, but it's all like you said, it's one person now instead of multiple,
right?
Like Day 2 and Overload and whatever the West Coast one was, I forget.
Right. Which is it's admirable to have everything be in house so that you can kind of have more of a say in things and have it so that like if something important needs to be addressed, whether it's like player conduct or rules overall, like that can be handled all at once rather than having to like go through different like barriers of red tape and this, that, and the other, and organizers having their ways set in stone. But it's also a huge task to have. How many regionals do we have in North America this year? Like
not many.
Not how many is it?
Not as many as last year, but it's probably at least 6 to 8 or something. I would imagine.
Still like a substantial number of 1,500 to 2,000 player tournaments handled by one organizing group. That is a humongous order. And it's evident, right? Most of the people who I know who have gone to tournaments says that you can tell that it's not run as well. That you can kind of feel it in the air that like things are not feeling as good to like walk around in. Things feel disorganized. I believe people who went to Baltimore in my circles said specifically that felt like a mess. There was like a dinner reservation situation to even get like registered for side events and stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't play any side events, but it always looked really disorganized in that area.
Yeah,
and I think my biggest problem with Baltimore was the chairs, but that's a different conversation.
True. You should be able to bring your own chair, in fact.
Dude, anyone that went to that event understands, like, the chairs were not it, man. Like,
jeez. But yeah, I you really have to consider the size of the game right now and understand that these sweeping changes can't hurt the average player in that way, where you're having just a substantially worse experience just because you're not the cream of the crop. And even if you are, because like then if you're the little guy, it looks even worse to try to get well, because it's like, well, what do you mean JW Krewall is out because it looks too hard? I'm not JW Krewall. And like,
yeah, I can't imagine looking at like outside looking at like now that I've been in Pokemon for like a year and a half or whatever, but being on the outside looking in at as a card game player, or even just someone who wants to like thinks they want to start getting competitive, if you look and see, oh, that guy went 10-2 and he had no chance, was not given the opportunity to win the tournament.
Yeah, crazy. Like, makes no sense. Yeah, I totally do not envy TPCI in this current situation, but I also don't have a lot of what's the word? Not mercy, but a lot of empathy for them right now, because you have pretty much a license to print cash. I understand that these events don't cost $0, and they're probably not even always profitable, but it's crazy when tournaments are regularly getting capped out and the quality of life for the average player feels rough like that. And maybe it's like magnified by the current state of the metagame, but it definitely, I don't know, it feels a little rough to be a Pokemon player right now.
Yeah, Will, I don't know if you have experienced this over the last, because you play longer than me, but I don't know if you've ever had to teach anyone how to register for a tournament, but
it's honestly crazy. Like I felt like the old guy when it came to NAIC registration last year.
Yeah.
Like, that was
the amount of like people helping people how to like learn how to log into things, and like it was crazy. And like that experience was nuts. Like I had meetings at work and I was late to reg by 5 minutes and never got to go to the event. Like literally ended my season.
Brutal.
Like I needed NAIC to qualify for Worlds, which like do better earlier in the year.
Sure.
Right? Sure. 100% good argument. But also like a lot of people needed NAIC to go to Worlds.
Right.
Like so it's
that's why it's an IC. Believe it or not, because they can attach so many points to it.
Like if I had day 2 to NAIC, like my shot at Worlds gets very good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think for me, it's always the registration is always like the lack of information on how to register is always the craziest part about Pokemon.
And the notice all of a sudden too.
Yeah, the 1 day notice they gave for Toronto.
Dude,
I have an experiment that I would like to do with. I just got one of my Yu-Gi-Oh friends to play Pokemon. I traded him like a whole Dragapult deck.
Nice.
And so I wasn't going to ask him to do it now because he literally just started playing. But the next time there's a regional, I'm just going to ask him like, hey, go try to find out how you register for this regional. Just see what see what happens, because like it's I don't know, maybe I'm like out of touch, but I think that if you ask someone right now who's interested in playing Pokemon but doesn't know how to register for regional to go find out how to register for regional, you will not find out how. You won't get there.
Not at all. It's very unintuitive as a process.
Especially if you avoid, like a lot of people avoid Twitter because it is kind of like
as you
a toxic environment. One of the only reasons I have it is to A, make myself feel better about myself for no reason, and B, so like Arcanine every once in a while will tell me what's going on.
Which is crazy because like Arcanine like is just barely official Pokemon, just barely like official Pokemon tournament stuff.
Sure,
they're definitely not like run by TPCI. They're not, like it is so. Like, if it was still TPCI running things in the community and not intervene, I'm certain we would still be signing up, like, on paper. We'd be, like, mailing in registrations.
Right, yeah.
Which is just insane to think about.
That is what's insane. Like, it's not a publicly traded company. So they literally, like you said, aside from the license to print money, like, can do what they want.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that I don't literally just go to a Pokemon trading card game website to register for an event.
Yeah.
It's kind of dumb.
Yeah. It's exhausting thinking about
right.
Like, what is the point?
Which maybe that's what they're trying to get to with Game Gen running things, and maybe that's like something that's on their radar. I'm sure it is. In fact, I can't imagine that, especially because it was around this time last year, registration was a nightmare. And so
it's
like
a race.
I'm sure that's informing their decision to go with this like monopoly on tournament organization. But it certainly like isn't a good like look at the bare minimum to kind of have like no official proprietary, like when I'm looking to sign up for a Pokemon regional, I should be able to in my head, and maybe I'm out of touch too, but I should be like, oh, Pokemon.com, trading card game, register, and then it should be, and the URL should say Pokemon.com/TCG/register/regional, whatever. Like and like the event in the submenu, and it should still be in the same domain. It should still be on the Pokemon website. Like it should not be. I should not be the one as a player, and God forbid you're a kid, like a junior, senior, or brand new to the game, like fresh out of high school, college, trying to get into the game, and you're like, "What is RK9, dog?" It took me. First of all, it took me an embarrassingly long time to realize that was a pun on Arcanine's name. But also, it feels so strange to use a website that is A, third party, and B, ugly. You know, like ugly is
very old looking. Yeah.
Like,
well, and like my experience too is anything that's not .com feels sketchy.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
You better be .com or .gov.
Like, yeah.
Everything else, get out. I don't want to touch you.
Yeah.
Well, like, you even say, like, for a junior or senior, there's a strong chance that if you're just entering the game as a junior or senior, trying to register for your first regional, your parents are trying to do that for you.
Yeah. Which is even worse.
Especially, like, let's say the parent has zero interest in Pokemon.
Oh, no.
So they are not in any way associated with the world we've lived in for however long. So they have no communication with other people that do this frequently. No, don't even attend. Look at, like, the thought would be, oh, Pokemon.com, and then you get zero information.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's in there somewhere. Like, you go to the championship series, and this,
sure.
and like 18 page later.
So you can. You can actually, and if anyone cross podcasting, if anyone watches Azul and Chip's podcast, the most recent episode actually showed if you go to the event locator on Pokemon's website, you find the regional and you click on it, it does link you to RK9. But what are you doing there? No one knows.
What is RK9?
You know, you're gonna click it and it's gonna send you to the RK9 main page.
Yeah.
What do I do?
What do I do there? Yeah.
Also, why is upcoming tournaments and Pokemon events separate selections on the Arcanine website?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
That all just feels like stuff that should be so much just on the back end, right? I should be able to be like on Pokemon.com. This is the one I want to go to. Here's my information. Here's my payment information. You send it where it needs to go.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. At some point, I would love for them to get with whoever runs Limitless and say, "You do everything really well. Do you want to take a shot at this?
Please,
please." It feels like to me, especially coming into Pokemon last year, when like I'm getting like links thrown at me by people like, "This is where you go for this. This is where you go for this." Like in my head, I'm like, how is Pokemon just not like purchased Limitless and Arcanine and just said, "This is where you do everything"? Like it's on our website now. What the heck?
It makes no sense. Very indie company, indie game company. They're doing their best. They,
Yeah, small indie company.
It's tough, man. It's tough. And registration is like that's the craziest part, is like that's your first point of contact with entering to your first major tournament. Like if it's not a challenge or a cup, because challenges and cups are easy. You go to your game store, you pay entry fee, you fill out a deck list, and you have a good time, and you either win or lose. But like for your first major premier event to have that many like degrees of separation from a very accessible website in Pokemon.com, like it's tough. Like you said, especially if it's like a parent, man. Like I could, dude. If my kid's coming up to me and being like, "Hey, I want you to register for this," and I look on the website and there's no links to it unless I have to really, really dig, I'm just telling them that doesn't exist. That's not real. You imagine that. I'm gaslighting my kid at that point. There is no universe where I'm digging through all that, especially because you got to consider like most parents in like our age, and like most of the parents of juniors and seniors right now are like in that probably like 40s, 50s range. They don't know how to use the internet.
It makes my head hurt.
They have no idea. Except for a select few. See the last episode. Andy's the goat. But like there's it's so crazy, and that's your fourth point of contact. And then imagine you go from there and your kid does play in the tournament, right? And your kid like gets stomped, right? Because the meta is ridiculous. And it's not tier 0, but just as annoying, I'd say. Like, and your kid goes in and is like, "Yeah, I got to play like 3 games and then I was out because there was no way I was making day 2 because everything moved so fast and I had no chance of coming back, even though they said specifically that this year comeback mechanics were going to be a really big part of the game." Like at that point, I'm like, you got to get a different hobby, dude. Like this is not fun for you. You hate this probably.
I think it's tough if you're getting into it and you want to go have fun. Getting to the tournament, getting registered for the tournament, showing up and figuring it out is already so frustrating.
Yeah. It's super, super tough. And I think it's a big part of why they need to ditch this in-house TO and go back to having several different organizers, and also bring back states. I know currently speaking, it's very difficult to get like all the regionals staffed and stuff. That's something I'm very acutely aware of. I have friends who are in the organizing space and in like that kind of part of the setup for an organization for tournaments, right? Nobody like doing serious stuff, but like I've got friends who have staffed regionals, and I know plenty of people who are doing organization. It's not easy, right? To get staff, to get things set up, to get stuff in paper, to get bookings. But I think it would take a lot of strain and a lot of pressure off of regionals, particularly, to bring back even if it's just once annually, one tournament for the state that somebody can go to and have, maybe even if that's where you have to like road test your less strict kind of like restrictions on day 2 and stuff like that. Maybe that's the one where you can like open it up a little bit, let it go like however many rounds depending on size, and maybe that's where you do the cut to 64 thing and go from there. It's something that you give players more opportunities to play, more accumulate points, and more opportunities to at least try to get in, right? Because then you have at least 50 tournaments a year plus regionals, and odds are everybody gets to play at least one, right? And then you don't have people who are scrambling to like, if I don't make it to regionals this year, I'm not going to get to play a premier event, like because not everybody can afford to go to ICs, and not everybody has the time they can take off of work to go to ICs. I don't know, I'm rambling at this point. What do you guys think?
I like the idea of bringing states back. Feels like it does provide a nice opportunity for like A, grabbing points, B, exposing the game, and C, maybe like creating more major program incentive.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it depends on where you are though too, right? Like,
yeah,
is it worth their time and money to set up a Nebraska or like, you know what I mean? And like, that's no shade at players playing out of Nebraska, but like, is there enough of a statewide gaming culture, or is it literally just like a bunch of people from Omaha, right?
Sure.
Like,
right.
Whereas, I think like we have a pretty underrated, like New York State is pretty underrated as a whole in the Pokemon community.
Oh, absolutely.
Plus, we live very close to GMT in Eastern Canada.
Yeah.
So like we've had to get better. Like we've had no choice.
Yes.
Yep.
So like I guess the qualification standpoints would have to be set pretty rigidly and that kind of a thing. So
sure.
I wouldn't want to be the one that had to figure it out, but I'm also very much in support of them looking at the idea of bringing that kind of system back.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, for me, like qualifying for state championships would be like enough. Like then, like I can relieve myself even more of that world pressure.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, especially being able to like represent the team and be with the guys at a statewide championship, like would mean a whole lot more to me than even maybe the Worlds.
Right.
I think they could do a lot of cool stuff with states. I played VGC back when states were like just ending, I think, or, like they weren't doing them anymore. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my VGC friends always talked about how much fun they had with states. I don't know if they'd be too big now in some states,
right?
Like New York. Is it going to be a 2,000? Is it going to be a 2,000 person cap tournament in New York, in California, in New Jersey? You know what? Are these big like metro areas just going to be insane? Is it going to be like 50 regional? It's not 50, but is it going to be like 10 more regionals? Right. As far as logistically speaking for them, so like I guess I can understand from the back end, having done some tournament organization in other games myself. I guess like I understand logistically why they wouldn't want to do something like this. Sure. But it would be cool. It'd be cool if you like, I don't know, just like throwing out words, but like if you had to like top 4 a cup and then that qualified you for states, or, you know, like whatever the case was, like if you had some cool things, like I want to work towards this, and it's like, it can be that thing, like Will said, that you work towards at maybe you're not qualifying for worlds, but you're qualifying for states, and it's like cool, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think that's really cool, is you could exercise some kind of control of that, right? Because you're able to, as TPCI, you're able to kind of, especially if you are sticking with the in-house TO, which I don't think they should, you can kind of set forth, like mandated across all of it, like here's how many people we're going to let into that Nebraska, that Utah, like state championship, right? Here's how many we're going to let in. Here's what the qualifier has to be. And you can say, oh, we're getting a lot of interest for this. If tournaments start capping out, let them cap out and make them bigger next year, right? Like, this game is still growing, and I don't think it's going to stop. Pokemon is one of the biggest IPs on the planet. It is, like, there is no, you could show a Pikachu to anybody and they'd be like, oh yeah, that's Pikachu. Like,
Yeah.
I know about this a little bit, even if they're not like, oh, that is, whatever. Like, they're not going to tell you like the nuances of it, but they'll be able to be like, yeah, that is a Pokemon. Like, I know what this is.
I think there's like a pretty extreme player collector swing happening too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where like a lot of former collectors are starting to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, I just had a bunch of code cards lying around. Like, might as well try this out or
Right.
whatever. Or like they see money, they see notoriety, they see how fun it looks or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, as you're printing more cards, more people are playing the cards.
Yeah.
Which is what you really intended from the start. Because at one point it was like an 80% collectors swing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think that's really getting way closer to 50-50.
Absolutely. Because like, well, the game's so accessible right now. Even though Live is a terrible client, like, you can grab TCG Live on your phone, iPad, whatever, play a game in 20 minutes, 25 if it's buggy, like, and be like, oh, this is interesting. I see strategy here. And all of these cool cards that I've been collecting over the years, I get to play them and like see what they do now. Like, I get to that stained glass Charizard that I spent $100 on is also really playable. Like, and it's this shift in like people who are collecting, and maybe it's as a result of like, not to get too real, but like maybe it's the economy as well, where people are like, oh man, it's really expensive to collect cards, let me at least try to go do something with them. But it's cool to see that shift, that we're getting more players. Like, this game is not going to stop growing. So I think at some point we have to kind of realize like, what's the word? Horizontal expansion is necessary.
There's a compression issue for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Chris? I cut you off.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, like, the game not only grows from like that aspect, but I can speak from experience with Yu-Gi-Oh! There, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players are quitting and they're dispersing between games like One Piece and Lorcana and Pokemon. Because first of all of those games are cheaper to play, especially Pokemon.
Yes.
And secondly, all those games are giving out better prizes than Yu-Gi-Oh! So
True.
all of those games, including Pokemon, a large number. I've even had some of my past Yu-Gi-Oh! Friends switch over to Pokemon. Like I said earlier, I've got someone coming this Sunday to Unplugged to play that I switched over from Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's like those people want to come play another game that maybe respects their time better than Yu-Gi-Oh! Does, or whatever current game they're playing. And so, but when they do that and they can't register for a tournament, it's a sour experience.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. And like, if TPCI wants the game to continue growing, it's important that they grab the bull by the horns and really like get proactive about it. And I know States like is not coming overnight, but I think as a rule of thumb, any opportunity for a player to play and feel satisfied and feel like their time is respected is a win. Because also you got to think, you don't have to have a $10,000 prize out for States. You can give somebody a championship match at States and be like, yeah, that's all you got, and they'll still be like, that's hype. I'm still state champ. I don't care. Like, you could put state 100%. Champion on a map, and people would go bananas for it. I could do that in my browser right now on Photopia and have zero problems, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's the crappy Ultra Pro mats, man, throw us something. Like, I think that's a way for there to be like, and way less pressure. Like I said, less pressure on those regional experiences while we're still working the kinks out in getting regional registration figured out and like tournament structure issues figured out. Like, I think introducing another location that is hopefully easier to register for and less low stakes or less high stakes and more accessible will get people in the door playing the game. And then if they have a good time at States, they're maybe not necessarily less likely depending on the type of person, but they definitely feel less pressure to be like, well, I'm not going to get to play again until next year when this tournament rolls around, or if I have to travel 6 hours to another regional.
I think it gives people, like we mentioned earlier, it gives people another competitive outlet than, oh, I must be top 125 for Worlds. That's my kit. Like if someone wants to be competitive, but they want to be maybe a little bit more realistic about it, like that's a better goal for some people, right?
Certainly.
Is to qualify for states and play states. And imagine how sick it would be to show up to a regional with a map that says like New York State Champion.
That's hype. That's
like,
so hype.
Come on, dude.
Yeah, that's super sick. Because then you're on, not like the Wall of Fame necessarily, but your name's in the book. You have like a limitless page probably, and like having that experience is what makes things so cool. Like it's more back to that sense of community, which is what makes this game so good. Is like you can be like, oh crap, that's like the North Carolina state champ from last year or the year before. This is an important game I have to play right now. Like, oh, you made this really cool deck list choice like 2 years ago at states or whatever, like whatever it may be. And like it's those kind of encounters that have so much life to breathe into this game, is when you encounter people who are in their own rights legendary, right? And as corny as that is, like it's a genuine part of what makes this game so cool. Like I remember it, Charlotte, this past year, like I won't shut up about it, but like the Isaiah Bradner jump scare for my round 2 pairings at Charlotte was crazy, because like, oh god, I know that name. Like I'm not ready for this. So like it's moments like that make this game so cool, and there needs to be more of them. And the best way to do that is to give people more chances to play and make a name for themselves.
Yeah, in Toronto this last year, in last year in Toronto, when I on Friday, the day before the tournament started, I played against like some like 8-year-old and his dad in like a side event, right? Because I was going around collecting all the dice, which is another point I'll go back to. But I was collecting all the dice for all the regionals and stuff, and so I was just playing in a side event, and I was playing Charizard, and he was little kid was playing Charizard, and I beat him. It was whatever. I gave him the points that I had won because I didn't care. He wanted a plushie, and I was like, whatever. This doesn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then day one, I was on stream in Toronto, and then at the end of the day, I was at the prize wall looking for something. My mom had some points, and she wanted to buy something, and the same kid and his dad like tapped me on the shoulder, and they were like, "Hey, like we saw you on stream, like that was cool. Like we're gonna have to go back and like find your deck list and stuff." And I was like, "Oh, that's sick."
So cool.
And then like on the other end, like you said, when you matched up against Isaiah, like at NAIC, my round 1 was Mahone, and like we had a conversation, and that was cool. Like like it's on the other end. It's those moments are pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the point of this podcast is, like, I don't know if I've ever explicitly said it on a recording of an episode, but like the point of this podcast is to kind of make more of those moments happen, right? It's something I feel very strongly about, is that the best part of this game is the players and the encounters between players of such vastly different experiences. Sometimes those are players who are just players. Sometimes it's like between a player and like an announcer or a caster. Sometimes it's between like players and judges that don't really have a lot of interaction outside of like, hey, this guy Greninja'd under Path to the Peak. But like that's the coolest part of this game, and there needs to be more of it. Because, and I would contend that just about every player has had one of those experiences where they've got like one really cool situation that happened where they met somebody that they thought was cool. And if they don't have that experience, like, then maybe I'm coming from a crazy point of privilege, because I've had a couple of those. But
I think it's more common than not.
Yeah, I'd say so. And I think like that's how you get players that are more likely to come back and put up with the bullcrap of like registering for a regional, is to allot for more places for them to have those moments of like, oh my god, like I got to play a game against like this huge creator in the community. Like I just got to play against like the California state champ of 2025 or whatever. Like stuff like that is going to be ultimately what allows this game to continue growing, right? Because at the end of the day, we're only going to get so much new, diverse, and like exciting gameplay experiences, right? Like eventually at some point, and this is like huge top-down view stuff, right? At some point we're eventually going to run out of ways to keep the card game really exciting. And so the way to keep people interested in Pokemon as a trading card game, a video game, whatever, is to create space for more interpersonal things that aren't as solved as keeping a card game exciting.
It's actually really funny because like I have two sets. Like your and my set was very memorable. It's only of the three sets that I will remember for the rest of my life. It's the only one I've won. Like I played Will Tellermeyer in Orlando.
Yeah.
And we were both on that, like, we have to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
I was like 304.
Yeah.
Like I started the day 004,
Ooh.
which like became a really funny joke.
Yeah.
So, but I like, because I was 004 and like pretty much assumed I was done, I loosened up.
Mm-hmm.
Played some of the best Pokemon I've ever played in my life. Got to 304 and played Will Tellermeyer. He's one of the guys that wears the suits.
Yeah.
And he was playing like the Future Hands thing, and I was playing Dunsparce Moon. And it literally came down to, is there a crown prize? And he was able to find like 3 crowns in one turn. And,
yeah.
And like I don't think we breathed for 35 minutes.
Holy.
Because like we were both knew how close it was, and we both played perfect Pokemon. And at the end, like him making day 2 basically was his world factor.
Yeah.
So at the end, like I just gave him like a huge handshake, and like we both had like huge grins on our face. It didn't matter that I lost.
Yeah.
It was just like we both just played our butts off.
Yeah.
We both earned the win. One of us got it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'll remember that the rest of my life. It was so much fun.
Yeah. And those are the fun ones. Like, at least I think, because
yeah.
Oh, I have a similar set. I played against my first time playing in Charlotte. It was like on like the pre any like competition, I was able to get a set in with LDF. And when he brought Eternatus, and I was still brand new, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, man. I have no business talking to this guy. But I got a picture with him. Like we played a game. We actually got to sit down and just talk shop about like creating content as well. Like we just talked about like
we actually get to spend quite a bit of time with him.
Yeah.
So he and PJ is like local to us.
Okay.
So like all the Shuffle Squad guys kind of come through this area pretty often.
Yeah.
He is one of the most genuinely nice and passionate people like in the game.
Incredible.
So everyone should go say hi to him, try and absorb information from him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he loves to play the game. When he does well, he wears it. He's excited.
Yeah.
When you do well, he's happy for you. Like very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what I was about to say. Like, he smoked me. He destroyed me. But like we talked about, because I was also like playing something spicy, and I was really excited I was like in the back of my head, I was like, I really hope he likes this choice. I was playing I actually played a 1-2, a Alolan Vulpix V-Star. Because Mew was slated to be pretty popular at that tournament, and Lugia as well. And Vulpix V-Star at the time kind of shut off both of those. And so
and could one-shot both.
Yes, and could one-shot both.
The V-Star attack one-shot both.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so like I like put that in, and we talked about that. And like I'll never forget, he was like, "Oh, I like that." And I was like, "I'm vindicated." Like I was on a high like no other, because I was like, this is my magnum opus. I created a deck list that LDF kind of likes. And like I don't know, it's those experiences, man, and they're the best. Even getting smoked, because obviously I'm not doing much against Eternatus with bulk intel, but like even getting absolutely smoked, I was like, I just played a game and like took a prize card against somebody who's known for being good at this game. That's pretty cool.
His Arctura run was insane.
Absolutely.
Like he had a few tournaments with Arctura where like he was unstoppable.
Yeah. For sure. Arctura is such a cool deck. I miss it being good. I miss it being a thing. Oh man. Jeez. I feel like we've talked about this for a year and a half, and it's been like 20 minutes. Oh man. Let's move away from. Do you guys have anything else to say about kind of like current tournament stuff? Any ways that you guys think that things could be improved? Because I don't want to just sit here and complain about it for however long and then not.
No, I think you had like bringing back like that zone level championship.
Yeah.
Like whether it's states or zones or regions.
Sure.
Like, not regionals, but region championships.
Yeah.
I think that would be a huge factor in enjoyment of the game. So,
Yeah.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I would really enjoy it. Like I said, I think it'd be so cool to have New York State champion.
Yeah.
Play mat or whatever.
Put that on the mat. Be so sick.
Yeah. The only thing I can go back to is just when I, look at other card games, expand the top cut. Like if you went 10-2, even in some cases, like even like 9-2-1, like that's a hell of a day. Like
yeah.
Let them have the chance,
Yeah, if nothing else, at least let them finish. Like, don't give them a reason to drop from the tournament, or like don't make them stop playing the game. Like if you're 10-2, you should be able to play the rest of the game.
Yeah, because that will then what impact does this have on future tournaments? So people that get into day 2 at 6-2 just not play day 2 because they're like, well, the likelihood is so small, and I gotta win all my games.
Yeah. Well, and then like in day 1, if you lose a game, do you just stop then?
Right.
Like, or because then you're stressing about it all day. Like if you lose like your first game into something really bad, you're like, well, this sucks. Time to pack it up and go home. Like,
right.
So
the tie actually feels worse.
The
At
tie
least if I
so
lose,
bad.
I know what I have to do.
Yeah.
Like if I lose, I know what I have to do. If I tie, I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I tied round 2 in Baltimore, and I wanted to go home right away. I was so miserable, like hitting that tie, especially because like I won't go into it, but like I shouldn't have tied. It should have been an easy win for me, and I tied, and I was like, I want to go home. I'm not having fun.
And that should never be the case.
Yeah,
where you want to check out that early.
Yeah, that was like one of the big things I always like referenced when I came to Pokemon from Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like I want to go to tournaments and I want to compete and I want to have fun. Like where at the tail end of Yu-Gi-Oh! I wasn't feeling that anymore.
Yeah,
and that's kind of when I knew like I have to switch. I have to do something.
Yeah.
And when I played Pokemon tournaments, I was like, I'm having a lot of fun going and playing and competing and trying to get better. And then when I had that moment in Baltimore, I was like, what's going on? Like I have not felt this way since I started playing Pokemon. And that after tying that round 2 and knowing the implications for this tournament, I was just like, it's not fun.
Yeah.
And then you immediately followed that up with a cup where like 5 people that went 3-2 did not top 8.
That's crazy.
Yeah. We went to play a late night cup in Watertown that we thought, like 3 of us went, we thought we were going to be like 3 of 7.
Mm-hmm.
We walked in, it started at 6 or 7 p.m. and we were like 3 of 30.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
And a very skilled field. So it was an interesting journey.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Moving on. I think for sure, like, and part of it is also metagame. Like this too shall pass. It feels very like win by turn 3 or go home type stuff.
Yeah.
And that definitely exacerbates the problem. But
sure.
Still, like a bad format shouldn't like be all it takes to peel back the curtain on how bad the organization is of a tournament. But I'm done yapping about that. Let's move on to something fun to talk about that is really exciting and that will hopefully shake up maybe both of these problems. Probably not the tournament organization problem, but definitely the meta problem, right? Sure. Let's look at some Surging Spark stuff because this is a really cool looking set. I'm really excited about it. And I'm excited to see. I am a sucker for Alola Pokemon. And I'm seeing on the Pokemon website that this mentions that like it specifically is talking about like a Alolan Pokemon, and I'm into that.
Yeah.
So let me see. I've got it on our. Oh, I don't have it on the show notes. I lied to you. There's nothing on the show notes about this part. Let's kind of start up at the top. This does go in order of type. Is there anything that sticks out to you guys automatically? Any really standout cards right off the top that you guys are excited about?
I think it's going to become a cliche, but Pikachu.
Yeah, certainly.
Pikachu EX.
Yeah.
And I'm already seeing like 8 different ways people are trying to build it.
I saw a Lost Zone list that had 5 different types of energy and 2 of each of them playing a single copy of Pikachu.
Was it the picture of mine?
I don't know, maybe. I don't think, but it was some Japanese list that I saw that
I built a 60 that is Sounds a lot like what you.
It's got. I'm trying to find it in the Discord chat where I saw it. Let's see. Oh, geez, it's so high up there. Why is it so far back? Okay, so I'm seeing. What the heck? Oh, that's a Latias. I was like, that's not a 5th Comfy, is it? But yeah, it's like a 1 Pikachu, 4 Comfy, 3 single price Terapagos, Cram, Sableye, Bear, Manaphy, Ninja, Latias or Latios EX, Fez, and then your standard Lost Zone package, but with a Gravity Mountain, a Temple of Sinnoh, not sure what that other stadium is, and then like 2 Psychic, 2 Water, 2 Steel, 2 Grass, 2 Lightning. And it's like, what is going on here? Like, that looks bananas.
Mine is typical Lost Zone package, 2 Pikachu, Zamazenta.
Zamazenta's
the Retaliate Zamazenta.
Love that card.
Iron Leaves.
Okay.
And then a 3/3/3/1/1 on energy.
Ooh. Okay. I see the vision. I see the vision.
And I've solitaired it and like feel like 9 out of 10 games I have a shot at winning.
I like the Zamazenta inclusion because you're already playing metal. Like, that just feels so
I
smart.
left the bear out because it feels like I'm sort of just doing the same thing with Pikachu.
Yeah.
Or with Zamazenta, excuse me.
Yeah. I mean, you can use either of those guys to just blow up whatever's in the active.
Yeah, and the A-Spec, like, put in random good A-Spec here. Like, I think the box is good.
Literally,
Prime Catcher's good.
pick your poison.
I think the new medallion is good.
Ooh.
Where, like,
you
knock out your Pikachu.
The Assemble Exodia
you go
card.
get 3 cards.
Yeah.
And, like, my head, I'm like, knock out my Pikachu. I go grab Rod, Gate, Roxanne.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous, by the way, to just, it's like, oh, you heard Raihan was good. What if we gave you that 3 times? It's like, all right, well, I guess.
And then people are like, well, then they're going to go Arven Vacuum. Like, if they have to waste their whole turn on Arven vacuuming me, then my A-Spec did its job.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then they didn't Iono me. They didn't, like, whatever.
Yeah, they didn't Roxanne you into oblivion.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely crazy card. It's honestly surprising that they're printing that. It's kind of not, because it's Pikachu, and Pikachus are always just going to be kind of good. But that ability, somehow, if
this set feels a lot like Vivid, like it has that same shakeup that like Vivid Voltage had.
I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah,
there's some like very not noteworthy stuff right now, but I feel like it's gonna become very, very relevant in the near future. Like I really hope I want this Skeleturge to be gas so bad. I want this Skeleturge to be insane, because it's Palkia V-Star's attack with Unaware on it, and it's a single prizer.
Oh yeah, it looks crazy.
It's so good.
When I read that, and I was like, "This is Palkia on a single prizer,
but it doesn't accelerate energy." So
I think it's like potentially Serial Edge is the best deck to come out of the set.
Probably so.
Yeah, probably.
Definitely the best deck.
Yeah, because like you could argue like Pikachu and Lost Zone's not a new deck.
Yeah,
sure.
Right, it's just Lost Zone plus 2 new cards, or whatever.
Yeah.
But like Serial Edge is a new kind of like,
it's a whole new like deck, archetype, really.
It's like a whole new 60, really. But I've also seen Reggie's and Pikachu.
So
like
heat.
Yeah, and then like throwing a Grass Energy in and playing Area 0.
Yeah. You could play
with the, I think
also Pikachu,
the Ogre, right?
You could play Pikachu with the same package you play Galvantula with.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Which is super good.
So like I said, there's 3 or 4 variations just in that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for Magneton, because then Galvantula is not a hope I draw it deck. It's a I have the cards right here deck.
Yeah. And then you can play Miraidon in there and just go get all your guys.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool stuff.
A one of Miraidon, like, it's pretty interesting thought process.
Yeah. That's such a crazy good Magneton, because they literally just for some reason they took Milotic and were like, what if it was yellow? They took
I do like that.
Like, it's crazy, because that card got banned in Standard, if I remember correctly. Like, while it was still legal, it got banned in Standard. And that's one of the few cards to ever hit like a ban list while legal, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me in the comments; it gives me engagement. But like, they are printing it again, and they're like, it's lightning type, guys, this time instead of water. So I don't know, I'm very interested to see like what's changed about their design philosophy and like why they're like allowing this to be legal again, just because that's such a potent ability, because you're like, it's the same stuff as like why Dust Noir is good. Like you can blow yourself up, offset the prize trade a little bit in what's already kind of like a 2-2-2 prize race situation where there's not a lot of like single prize representation, and then turn on counter catcher, turn on like your ability to attack with whatever you so desire at that point. Like it's very, very potent ability.
Yeah, I mean, not stating the obvious here, because we have these new Terra types that need all these different energies, and I think that without something like that, I don't know. I mean, not a lot of decks are using these Terra types that are using all these different energies right now to any success. So
True.
I mean, yeah, you can throw them in a Lost Box build, and like there's your energies, or you can have a Crispin situation, but you really just need something that's gonna like power those dudes up straight away. Otherwise, you know, what are they doing?
Always the code you have to crack. Like when dragons were first reintroduced, without weakness, everyone was like, okay, but the gimmick is getting all these different energies out.
True.
Yeah.
But then like Lost Tina and Arc Tina, like you kind of like, once you crack the code, then it's like pretty worthwhile.
Yeah.
The prizing mix obviously gets way more complicated.
For sure.
But yeah, like cracking the code on those like multi-energy type of cards, once it's done, then they're like this 3 years of strength for that card type.
Yeah, that's true. I do like that. It's cool that they're bringing this back. It's scary when you've seen what that kind of like that printing on a card can do for a format in the past, and they're like, oh, why is this back? why did they bring this back, man? I'm scared. Like, did we not learn our lesson the first time? It's like when they printed Palkia and Teleon again with Noctowl. I was like, hey man, I don't think you realize Andrew giving it big bench, that's scary. That's really scary. And now it's kind of mid, even though I love that deck.
It kind of made Palkia into Eternatus.
Yeah, which is so sick. But that's beside the point.
It's 2 prize Eternatus.
True. But yeah, it's one of those things. I'm excited for what it will eventually do, and especially I'm very excited for when F block rotates out. So we'll have to see some of this new innovation in the form of stuff like Glass Trumpet to use those Terra types and like things of that nature. Because I think Glass Trumpet is a broken card and nobody knows it. Like it's Dark Patch, but for colorless, and it's for any energy type. It's so good, and Energy Switch is still also in the game. So, like between that and Magneton and some other stuff, like I'm really excited to see where it goes, and even Spoochum if you're so inclined and want to play Psychic.
Yeah, speaking of rotation, it's interesting. Some of the cards in this set, like the Champao, the little baby Champao, is a Pumpkaboo reprint, right? And then you have things like where is it, Dedenne, for when Regieleki rotates. It's the same attack. It's put a trainer card from your discard into your hand.
Oh, true.
One colorless. So stuff like that is like they're like preparing for the rotation, right? Or they're like bringing things back that have already rotated.
Yeah.
Kind of giving people back the tools that they are missing or will be missing.
Even with like Palossand and like the retreat lock, you know what I mean? Like that's a cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's always interesting to see what they're like printing proactively to protect against like what's going away.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if we see any bench barriers pop up between now and rotation.
I mean, we've already got Rabska, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, but like Manaphy's just such an easy setup.
True.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so we get something like that simple. Like it used to be Mew.
Yeah.
In Sun and Moon, and then it became Manaphy.
At one point, it was Mr. Mime.
But like you also look at, we will be without Greninja.
Whew.
I mean, like, what other cards are really like going hard for the bench? You know what I mean?
Other than like Kyurem, I guess. But Curum
Yeah.
becomes kind of way less of a factor after
because
Love
Regidrago's
Quattro.
gone.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like dragons. I think are gonna dragon cards are gonna struggle to find a new niche after rotation.
Oh, most definitely.
Well,
Unless
yeah, well, no, go ahead.
like unless they can
Yeah.
use similar engines to like what's going on with Terra types, there's no way for them to like stay afloat. Because I'm not getting a psychic and a metal out for Dialga. Like you're out of your. I'm not getting a grass and a water for Palkia's attack, man. That's not good enough.
We also just have Clefairy coming out that says dragons
are weak.
Wow, get wrecked, dragons.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
You guys stink.
in addition.
Yeah.
It was a good way to not print fairies again.
Yeah, I kind of wish they would.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they
But
would.
you have to correct the issue that none of the dragon cards are printed with a weak.
True. I'm gonna print a bunch more dragon cards. I don't care. That's exciting.
Yeah. Well, I think now that buys them 3 years of not having to print fairies and printing dragons without weaknesses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But Rajgate's going away. So like what?
Yeah. So what do you do in that? it's not an easy call to make, and maybe that'll be what the is necessary to slow the game down a little bit, because like bringing out stage 2 decks clearly did not work. Like, so maybe it'll be like, oh, I have to get this mess of energy to make my deck function.
Yeah, I think F rotation will definitely slow the game down.
Yeah. Well, because we'll lose. Gosh, we'll lose freaking everything. Like
Rotom,
a lot.
Rotom, Luminion, Force Sealstone.
Dude, I'm excited to see
all of Lost Box.
I'm excited to see when they reprint. They will inevitably reprint a Luminion V reprint of some kind. That's just an evergreen effect. I think Pokemon has decided they're always going to have a big 2-prizer that they can use to go get a supporter. They're always going to print a 2-prizer that lets you have big explosive draw. They're always going to have a boss's orders and a professor's research and a switch and an energy search probably. Like
I think Ultra Ball will never go away.
Ultra Ball is never going away. The day that we have a format without Ultra Ball is going to be bananas.
Yeah.
Can't imagine.
I was fine. I do prefer Quick Ball over Nest Ball. A lot of people disagree with me.
I think those people are crazy. I think Nest Ball is bad and that Quick Ball is good.
I like Quick Ball's nice because you could still use it.
Yeah.
With a full bench.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was more sequencing interactive with Quick Ball in the format.
Most definitely.
Somehow we've gotten way off the Surging Spark.
Well, if you want to get back to Surging Sparks, you want a really cursed combination of cards that I'm going to introduce you to. I would like you to read Flygon EX and remember that Glamora EX exists.
Gross. Oh, wait,
So-
that's yuck. That's gross.
I'm just saying.
Dude, that so the first regional back, I think it was Salt Lake post COVID. There's that Desert Storm deck that went crazy. It was Arceus Flygon V or something.
Yeah.
And it literally just housed other V Maxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been Arceus. It must have been the first regional post Arceus being released. So it wasn't the first one post COVID. But that deck just ate up other V Maxes.
Yeah. Well, this combination is so funny because you hit the reversing storm, do 130. Let's say you knock out a Pokemon, you switch into Glamora. They have 4 on the bench.
Jeez.
They have to get rid of one before they bring.
Gross. And then you can also, when you've got,
just let them keep their Area 0 in play.
Yeah.
So bad, dude.
And then you can not hyper aroma. You can hyper blower away they're active and be like, I don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to let you continue to use this attacker. Bring me up one of your support Pokemon so that you can't discard them due to the effect of Glamora. Yeah. I think it's a tall order, but that'll be so sick.
Yeah.
I did put a 4-catcher build of Roaring Moon back together.
Oh, it's gross.
With so it requires the 4 catchers because you take out the prime catcher and put the blower in.
Ooh.
Because really, what's the only auto loss for Moon? Is Lugia.
Sure.
Lugia puts down 1 miss energy or game's over.
Yeah.
Basically. Unless they don't play. Unless they really do nothing.
Which is possible with
Lugias. Yeah, true. Well, if I'm playing it 100%. But if they put 2 Lugias in play and have an Ultra Ball in hand, usually you lose if you're playing Moon.
Yeah.
It's my thought is you go ahead and take 1 knockout. I'll let you get 9 energies on the board. And just drop a little Hyper Blower.
That's such a cool A spec.
So
for those of you who have not seen this yet, where is it? Is it in this set? Yes, it is.
Block Wax stay good?
Megaton Blower. Discard all Pokemon tools and special energy and a stadium.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
That's a crazy card.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're getting ready to load up a Wordier play, and you're like,
no. You just don't get to play that anymore.
I love reading Pokemon cards. Like, as a kind of small tangent, but as a previous Yu-Gi-Oh player, I love reading some Pokemon cards because it just sounds like a custom card, like someone made and put on the internet, and it's like, dude, this is not real.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you hold it up in your hand, you're like, it's real. This is a card. Like,
it's real.
And it's pretty. It looks very nice.
It looks cool. Yeah. There's gonna be a lot of cool cards. I'm interested to see. Well, I would be interested to see Meddling Memo, which is a weird name, where it's hand disruption on an item. That's gross. There's a lot of cards coming back that like we've seen get banned before, but are coming back in some capacity because we're getting Meddling Memo, we're getting Miracle Headset, which is like basically your Versus Seeker. We're getting Precious Trolley, which it might as well be like 4 battle VIP passes in a trench coat. Like,
yeah,
stuff like
and like
that.
even the Lost Zone list I put together for Pikachu, I put 1 Helper Bell in.
Yeah.
Like if I happen to get stuck going second, which I don't want to do,
right,
and I happen to have it in hand, then I have Colress guaranteed.
Yeah.
And then if it comes up later, just like whack straight into the Lost Zone, right? Like,
yeah,
it's got the utility for supporters of Battle VIP Pass and makes late game decision making that much easier.
Yeah. Mahone mentioned that like he doesn't like this card design. I'm not sure where I stand on it. Where it's like only use it during X scenario, like first turn going second. Like
I think when it's like a necessary for of like Battle VIP Pass in particular.
Yeah.
VIP Battle Pass. I never say it. Like was pretty much a guaranteed requirement 3 or 4 of.
Yeah. If you wanted to hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to hit it. And then you start spamming them and it becomes like a real nightmare.
Yeah.
I feel good about a 1 of that I may miss in like a deck like that of like a Helper Bell. Again, you start seeing like weird decks playing 4 of them, and then everyone feels like they have to play 4 of them, and now we're back into being like a super weird situation.
Right, but I don't think we'll see that because there's also other item cards that have similar effects. Like you could also, for some people, like they won't see the value of Call Bell, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna play a Pokegear instead." And so it's cool that you have the versatility to do either or.
Yeah, so I think it depends on the deck. Like, whereas in Lost Zone, Pokegear is also good, but like if I'm stuck going second, is the Bell like this much better than Pokegear?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so
there's a lot of
because like late game, a lot of times it'll do the same thing. Like late game with Lost Zone, Pokegear's going into the Lost Zone.
Yes.
A lot of
it's
times.
just
So it's like
you're gonna play it and then draw 7 like energy cards and be SOL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's cool that like I was saying that we're getting a lot of cool stuff that's getting reprints that are like banned reprints. Like it almost feels like they're breaking out like this used to be like the what is it, like the evidence archive at the police station. Like they've got Brilliant Blender coming out, which is an insane card. For right now. As soon as rotations hits, it might suck. But like Battle Compressor for 5, good card right now. Especially like Regidrago, Lugia. That card's broken. It's so good. It's so good in both of those decks specifically.
I mean, it's like
it does feel like the Surging Sparks designers are like really big into like Sunlap.
Yes, definitely.
Like we're just like everything served a purpose at some point.
Yeah. Counter Gain coming back is also ridiculous. Like Dragon Elixir's bad card, but all this does tell me is that they're going to print some broken dragons in the near future. That's also what the Clefairy tells me is they're going to print a broken dragon deck. Terra Orb is cool. We're getting like Dive Ball, but for Terras. That's cool.
Terra Orb is crazy. That's an insane card.
Yes.
Like I think
that's
that,
like.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah. That's.
Go ahead. Good. No. Nope. Go ahead. You're good.
I was gonna say that's so good that like when I'm building Lost Zone Pikachu, for example, or like you literally have like a 1 of Terra in deck. You think about throwing 2 of those in there.
Yeah.
Like literally like Arvin Terra Orb or like
that's good
in a Lost Zone deck that plays Pikachu or Terra type X. Like I'm gonna take out Nest Balls and put in the Terra Orb. Like it's that strong of a card.
Yeah. Or like
where you're
in Dragapult. every day of the week you're putting Terra Orb in there because Ultra Ball feels awful in that deck.
So you can put it
100, yeah.
You can put it in Dragapult, you can put it in Charizard, you can put it in any of these decks that like want a combo with another card to search out their attacking Pokemon. It's like I don't think people will like. I haven't. Maybe I'm not listening hard enough, but I haven't heard people talking about how crazy that card's going to be. That's an insane. It's an unhinged card.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to discard 2 with Ultra Ball to get my Dragapult.
Discarding 2 feels horrible sometimes.
Like Arven, Terra Orb, Crystal.
Gross.
It's disgusting.
Or if you don't even want to include the A spec and you can afford this, just put Arven, Terra Orb, counter gain.
And
you're chilling. Yeah. And then you can use your A spec for something else. Like there's so many options. And like they're bringing back Scramble Switch, which was again insane card. Like I don't know, the designers really popped off with this one.
Speaking of JWP Wall,
this is gonna be, it's just gonna be such a cool format for like in the future, hopefully.
If Pikachu didn't discard its energy, Scramble Switch Pikachu would be like so ridiculous.
Yeah, I think
it would be unbeatable.
I think that's why Pikachu had to be discarding everything because otherwise,
like
Scramble Switch
it'd be
makes it impossible.
Yeah.
Which, granted, you can now also just play Bianca's Devotion. That's like the first instance of that card being usable ever. In fact,
well, like Lana's Aid got its deck, so now Bianca has to get its deck.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just
I love that deck, by the way.
Yeah.
There's what is the card? It's like the Power Sand or something. What is the one that attaches to an active from the discard?
The glass.
Power Glass. Dude, put that on the Pikachu. 1 less energy you have to find next turn. And it can't get knocked out. It's Pikachu.
One card that I have not seen enough love for that is going to be bananas very, very soon, or I guess like right after rotation, is Deduction Kit. That card is going to be stupid. Those of you who have not read this yet, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put them back in any order, or shuffle them and put them on the bottom of your deck on an item. That is unhinged how good that is. Like trekking shoots. That is acro bike
and trekking shoots.
Yeah, that's like
in one shot.
It's all right there. It's so good. That's going to be like in turbo decks in the future. We're gonna see 4 of that. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I mean, like especially or like Curlia decks.
Yeah. Oh god.
Like obviously post rotation.
Yeah. I was gonna say we're losing Curlia. We're losing.
But we're getting trade.
Yes, we're
getting trade. Yeah.
We lose Curlia. We lose Radiant Greninja. We lose Bibarel. Like.
Oh, we're getting this Quaquaval though, so we're fine.
True. That's true.
No, that card's bad. It's really bad.
It's a bad replacement for Bibarel.
Yeah, it might be bad on a stage 1. So like.
Yeah.
We could always use the Octillery that lets you, when you evolve, you draw 3.
We do still have Revavroom afterwards, though. That's
true.
fine.
I think Revavroom will finally get his time in the sun after rotation.
Yeah, we're gonna start seeing a lot of that early G format stuff, like G block stuff. Yeah. Probably start to
have some payoff.
Like everything we were excited about at our Scarlet and Violet pre-release to use in the pre-release, we will have to get excited about after rotation.
Yeah. Yep. I'm also excited to see some of the new philosophy they're taking when it comes to design in like ways that decks are getting different. And what I mean by that didn't really mean a whole lot. I feel like all of those words had individual meanings and didn't form much of a sentence. We are seeing with this new Rabska and new Wo-Chen, we are seeing the emergence of like a self-mill strategy in the game. And I think that's super hype. Self-mill is not a thing in Pokemon. It is in like Magic and I assume probably some other games. But like I think it's a cool strategy that is not very well represented, and I like that we're expanding to stuff that's not just like, oh, you got your big basic deck, you got your evolution deck, you've got your spread deck. You've also now got this like control, you got this like turbo through the deck as fast as you can and gain things by them being in your discard. Where the Rabska says, what is it? Its counter turn attack has 40 plus for a 1 grass. If there are 3 or fewer cards in your deck, this does 200 more damage. First of all, that's pretty cool. Definitely more of a GLC card, but I think it would be cool to see more tools added to that make it playable, and like the Wo-Chen that I can't
like a more playable Rotom, right?
Yeah. I can't believe that this Wo-Chen got printed and it's like, and people are saying it's bad. Hazardous Greed for a grass and a colorless is 20 damage, but if there are 3 or fewer cards in your deck, it does 120 damage to 2. Like,
I think it's like one of those, it'll, like, who's going to figure out the Pidgeot loop with it, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
It'll be like really cool. Like finishing moves like that in like things of that nature would just be cool. Because you could also like, you could play that with something like, what is it? The Great Tusky X that mills your own deck. And you can just play stuff out of the discard. Like, that's a cool thing to me. I don't know. It's nice to see new strategies kind of getting put into the game, even though it's been years of this game existing.
Yeah.
It's cool. Like, so as you and I discussed historically over the last year and a half or whatever it's been.
Yeah.
Like spread is like, we're both big fans of spread. Which follow-up conversation, Chris and I have had the conversation much times how like, as a player, you're not good at a mechanic, you're good at a game.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different thing. But to me, like spread is like a split mechanic right now. Like there's no spread deck.
Right.
There's decks that spread.
That's right.
So it will be interesting to see if like as we start getting closer to rotation, if something like Yauskarada can just find some strength.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
I mean, we're losing DTE.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're also losing Gardenias, which feels bad.
But it feels like we're like 2 cards away from Yauskarada just
being bananas.
Finally being something, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there is Crispin now, so.
True. Crispin's a good card. I'm surprised we did like that hasn't been being talked more about. Like it is mostly good for like Terras, but it's really good for stuff like Masquerada too.
It is like, it feels like one of those decks, like insert deck into Pidgeot here.
Yeah.
Where like it worked for Charizard and sort of worked for Dragapult, and it kind of just felt like, why doesn't it always just work? But it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I like, it doesn't like compute in my brain.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that like, why doesn't this just make everything good?
Right.
But
yeah, I can totally see that. It's speaking of kind of circling back to build strategies. What do y'all think of this Durant EX?
I think that
if
card.
there's a Durant, I'm always going to try it.
Well, I think that card is bad, but I think that Mill is cool because when Great Tusk Mill came out, that was like when before that came out, I was like locked in. I was like, dude, I'm playing Great Tusk Mill to every tournament ever.
Yes.
It's the best card. It's the best card ever made. But I had,
and when it's like remotely good, we talk about it.
Yeah.
Like when it seems like it might be okay, we're immediately talking.
Yeah. Because I played like when I played Magic very briefly in my life, but when I played a blue-black Mill deck that just burned on Mill, and it was disgusting, and no one wanted to play with me, and I understood why.
Yeah.
But I think that mechanic is really cool, and so I think
and you still have to play.
Sure.
Like, you still have to make decisions.
Yeah. It's very much a race against the clock because you have to get rid of their resources fast enough.
Yeah. So I think Mill is cool. I think that card is bad, but I think Mill is cool.
What do you think the number would have to be on this card for it to be playable? Like instead of like Mill 1, what do you think? How high do you think that number could go before it's like actually good?
It's
I think 4 feels like a magic number to me.
Okay, but it's on play, right? When you play this card,
Yeah.
And
so
on play, yeah, right. You can't nest ball, but an on play effect that mills maybe 3.
Yeah.
2 feels like too little. 4 feels maybe too much. On
too aggressive.
4 feels scary because that's if you're playing on all cylinders, that's 16 off the top of your opponent's deck.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And if you're going second, it's 20 because you can penny. Like
I think 3 is okay. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see, like, do we ever get like a scoop up net?
That'd be gross.
True. That would be.
Yeah,
please
like
Durant,
scoop up net Durant. Like it'd be kind of ridiculous.
Gross.
Like if you spammed like Durant, scoop up net, penny, Durant.
Yeah.
Ew.
And like one Duranted 12 cards away.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's so sick. It's so gross. But like what's crazy about it is like that still would be like just fine as a deck. That deck's still not winning tournaments. Like we haven't
I'm more excited.
Impressive mill in ages.
I'm more excited to see like Danny Phantom. Like I don't know how popular he is, but he like runs a store and has a YouTube channel. Seems like a relatively cool guy. He posted on his Instagram the other day like he's just gonna have like a full binder of the alt arts. So he can have like
yeah.
So just being an ant farm binder, and so like he'll like bring it to shows, and it'll just be pages and pages of Durant.
Love that.
Like I think that's the whole purpose of the card.
It's very cool. Also, these arts go bananas. This is crazy.
Yes.
Except opening them has become impossible.
I hope that changes. I hope I would love nothing more than to never see ever again Battle Academy EXs get put into main sets. I think that is the one circumstance where I think that Pokemon should take a page out of Magic's playbook and just put them in their own booster. Like, get them out of here.
Oh, that's fair. Like a collector booster or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like I don't even care if it's guaranteed and they're always the same cards in that pack. Like you go in and like, oh, I'm gonna get the crown, what's this current set card called? Stellar Crown. The Stellar Crown collector booster, and it's just like it's all the Battle Academy EXs and like the 151 EX reprints. And then you get all your stuff to like fill out your binder. Sell it for $10. I don't care. Like, like that's none of my business.
Even if it's like a variation of 4, like I'm willing to play that lottery.
Yeah, sure.
But like I haven't held a like the hyper rare of. So like I specifically collect mid-era Japanese and modern alt art. That's it. And I haven't held an alt art in like the last 2 sets.
Oh jeez, that's brutal.
I gotta like we as a team we usually buy a case of whatever set comes out, like main sets. And so we like there's 5 of us plus my mom, so we 6 boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I opened mine and I pulled like a Greninja EX and a Blastoise EX, and I was like, I don't want any. These cards all are terrible. Like they do nothing. These cards shouldn't be printed. Like they shouldn't be here.
And every box in the case that had double A spec had no hyper.
Yeah.
So sad. So sad.
Like Chris and I both 2 boxes in a row saw no alt art, no hyper rare.
Yeah, no alt arts, no golds, no nothing. Like it was just like
nothing.
Which should be illegal.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It makes me not like it. I'm very torn because like as a card game player, I know don't buy sealed product, right? If you're trying to get value out of something, don't buy sealed product.
Right.
But
it's so
Pokemon.
Fun.
Pokemon is cool. They have cool art in there, and I want to pull the cool. I want to open the pack and go, "Oh, this card is sick."
Especially when nobody's doing art the way Pokemon does art.
Yeah, and so when I buy these boxes, they just don't. They have nothing in there. It's garbage in them. It's like I don't want to.
It makes you like I feel like a kid.
Oh yeah, it rocks.
Like when I open there it is.
It feels like that.
Well, like,
that's what it feels
like. That. It feels like that.
That's like I'm a big Leafeon fan. And like when I like from pack opened the V, VMAX, and V Star, right?
That's sick.
Like I felt like an 11-year-old.
Yeah. That's like
you know
it's
I mean?
destiny for me to play this deck.
Yeah. It wasn't good, but we tried.
I really hope that they get back to what set was it that the pull rates absolutely rocked.
Oh, they evolved for me. That was my first set, and those pulls were
how
amazing.
They evolved. Like that pull rate, perfection. Bring it because
I had really good luck with Twilight Masquerade, but other people did not.
Yeah, like I feel like even if they're bulk cards, like let me pull them more often.
Yeah,
I think I literally like Lost Origin. I pulled my Giratina V Star or V. Yeah, I pulled my Tina V like at my pre-release, and then just bought singles the rest of the time.
That's so.
Like I was like, I'm done.
I've peaked.
Not gonna toy with fate.
Yeah.
Just gonna go with it.
Yeah. Well, especially like the quality of this art is getting better every single set. Like, it's times where I'm like, I really start to understand people who collect certain artists. Like this cast form having this. That's the same artist that made the Mewtwo and Charizard V Stars from Crown Zenith, if I'm not mistaken. And you can tell by like in the art and like all these artists. Like I wouldn't mind pulling this stupid Bruxish card. I'd be hyped because that art goes crazy. I'd be excited for like, first of all, I love this Mesprit. I love the Late Guardians, and I think that those cards are going to be really cool. The Mesprit, Azelf, and Yuxi, I think they're going to be really cool in like at least GLC. This
Are you familiar with the like old style of lowercase ex's?
a little bit.
So like the mid-era one?
Yeah.
So like there's this talk of the Team Rocket set.
Yes.
I would love for them to print the baby style cards.
Yes.
Of those EXs.
Absolutely.
Like I'm gonna pull it down for a second. Try not to block my screen.
Yeah.
But like the Sneasler in particular, like from back then, like a rocket card could be so sick.
Yeah, I agree. Well, like, I don't know, just it's so cool to see even cards that are super bulk. They could be so cool. Like this Black Curum EX full art looks cool enough that I'd still be hyped to pull it, even though it's not good. This.
So that used to be your 2 prize EX.
Yeah. I can kind of see that.
And like full hollow border.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of my hopes for the Team Rocket. Like
fingers crossed.
Maybe we'll get some of that.
Yeah,
definitely.
I definitely like. I'm not a collector. I don't do slabs. I think they're silly.
I agree.
I know Will has some and he likes them or whatever. They're what
they're.
Yeah.
But I think like the alt arts in particular, like they look like art pieces.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
that's fine.
Yeah, but I'm like a big not like anti-slab. I'm a big slab hater, right?
Understand.
But I get why people collect this stuff because, like you said, these cards are cool. This is the first card game I've like opened packs or like traded for a card or something where I'm like, I just want it because it looks sick.
Yeah,
like
that Braviary might as well be a Van Gogh piece, dude. Like that looks so good. It's crazy.
What was it, Chris? Was it the Moltres V like art? Or the trainer card?
Yeah, so
and it like eluded you.
Yeah,
like...
I really like. This is one thing I found that I really enjoyed about this card game is like I like the cards that have the trainers on them. They like the trainer gallery. They look awesome, and so. Yeah, I was looking for
real excited.
I was looking for the Moltres one, and I just like couldn't find it anywhere, and like I didn't want to buy it online because it felt like weird.
Yeah.
So when Roaring Moon rotated, I traded him one.
Nice.
I had like,
and it's like I don't when I played Yu-Gi-Oh, I didn't look for cards because I want to collect them. Like, oh, I want to own this card in my binder. Like,
yeah.
But Pokemon, I'm like, that's cool. I want to just like stick it in a binder and like it's there.
Yeah.
You know?
I had my first kind of like situation where I was like really having a crisis about collecting cards when I pulled the illustration rare Raging Bolt. And because I was like, this is insane, but it sells for so much money. But it's so pretty that I don't ever want to get rid of it. I ended up having to sell it because times became tough and I needed to get entry to a pre-release. Not worth it. Because as soon as I sold it, it got good, and now everyone wants it. I think it like doubled in price after I sold it, so that sucks. But whatever.
I'm like sitting on like ridiculous like alt art. Like,
oh my god, the money spread.
Yeah.
Like all of it,
and like it's like one of those things where like sometimes I look at it, I'm like, this is dumb, right? Like,
but then you look how cool they are, and you're like, this isn't dumb.
Yeah, like sometimes I'm like especially like the Espeon VMAX, like I could sell that now and fund all of Toronto.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or I could keep it
because it's pretty. Yeah, absolutely. Wow, we got really off topic. Are there?
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's good stuff to talk about. I'm interested to see more cards though, because there's a lot to talk about. This Victini is kind of cool, I guess. It's
I felt underwhelmed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's fire, right? It adds 10. Does it add 10 damage?
Yeah,
it's like Zapdos.
It's plus 10 to evolution fire types to the opponent's active.
So you like pop a 1-up into Suryaledge?
Yeah.
Right. It's it has the same appeal as Mew, DTE Mew. We used to play the bird.
Yeah, the Oricorio.
Oricorio.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like same idea, and like sometimes it was in the deck, sometimes it was out of the deck, sometimes it was in the deck. So
yeah.
So it has that same appeal.
Yeah, I get it. I get why it's there. I can totally see it. What's other
Hydreigon? Hydreigon. Yeah.
Super cool card.
I like that card.
Very cool.
I hope it sees play because I was watching Mahone's set review and he's like, it doesn't do anything particularly well, but it does do all of the things at the same time, which I think is
that's the thing, and it's fat. Like it's a big boy.
Thick.
Yeah.
330 is a big number. even with Gravity Mountain coming into play, like that's a big guy.
Yeah, the ogre's roasted, right? Like that's like the Briar. It has that same like the Briar ogre combo can be brutal.
True.
Yeah.
Also, it is the double-edged sword of the Terra effect, where you can't take bench damage if you're using if you're using Terras. Like, why even have a bench barrier at that point? But like, it's still cool. And also, I'm a sucker for Hydreigon. I do love Hydreigon. It's just a cool design.
Just cool.
Yeah.
The whole line is cool.
That's a Pokemon I liked using a lot in VGC, so it'd be cool if it was cool here. Yeah.
Yeah. Other cool stuff. I'm kind of going top down still.
Archelodon. Any like big metal guys always kind of intrigue me.
I would love to see
board.
Tank and Hill strategy come back. I want something like Stonejourner VMAX to come back. I think that'd be healthy for the format. That take is going to age terribly, by the way.
Right?
I am so aware of that right now. That it's going to age really poorly, and people are like, "You're stupid. You should have never said that." But whatever, I don't care. It was the fighting one that was just. It was just super big. It was so big. Let me pull it up real quick. Card. Oh, hold on. That's not the correct website. I did not have this ready. Stone, of course, it's got a long name too. Stonejourner VMAX. I don't know how to.
I remember the rainbow of it.
Stonejourner,
but I remember what it did.
How do you spell Stonejourner?
STONJOU.
Yeah.
Like a journey, but
journey.
Well, there's no
because he walks around.
There's no E. Stonejourner VMAX. Stone Gift. Oh yeah. So one fighting, you could attach a fighting energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon and heal 120 from it. So you would just heal all the damage off, and you would use everything else in the deck to help him stay alive. Like it was back when we had like Max Potion, I'm pretty sure.
Pokemon Center Lady too, right? Was in format.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was just so big, you could just get them out so quick. And there was nothing in grass to blow it up. So like.
Didn't it not do well though because the Dracozolt was like just as strong, if not better?
Yeah, precisely. But like even that's still very cool strategy, like tank and heal.
Yeah.
And I think that stuff is healthy for the format, especially when we have this big like blow everything up in one hit type of format.
Yeah. I agree.
I think that'll be a really cool strategy. I just hope they don't ever print anything that has 400 on it. The second they do that, I'm taking a break.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
I pray that they don't, man. That would be so bad.
Well, didn't like Pablo stop playing for a while? Like when UV Max was printed, he like literally was like, "I'm not playing." Like
cringe take, but I get it.
Yeah.
Let's see what else is in here. We're kind of jumping around a little bit. I'm in the Dragon Tutorial list area.
I need my Corviknight back. Like I need a Corviknight EX.
Yes.
I need it to be good.
Yes, I agree. I'm very pro Corviknight.
About Sylveon EX.
Yeah.
That looks fun.
This Sylveon EX looks bananas actually, if you play it right. So, and I know this is the Dream, the Exodia type beat.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. You play, where is it? I gotta scroll down to find it. The boosted evolution EV that says as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, it can evolve during the first turn or the turn you play it. You play that, and then you play 3 of this guy on your bench. It is the, what is this? Resonant Evolution. Once during your turn, when you play a Pokemon from your... Oh, never mind. It does not work. Oh, no, it does work. It does work. Once during your turn, when you play a Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your other Eevee, you can search your deck for a card that evolves from this Pokemon and put it onto the Pokemon to evolve it. So your turn one...
That's funny.
Your turn one getting...
Double Sylveon?
Like
you can get 4
Sylveon.
of them.
Yeah.
Well, and you don't even have to make it Sylveon exclusively. We... In the Greater Charlotte area Discord, we actually had a conversation, and a good friend of the channel, April, actually like drew up a concept for a Fusion Strike adjacent style of deck where everything was very much like very broken, but it only worked with itself. So it was like this Sylveon and a bunch of other stuff that was all like it has to evolve from Eevee and it has to do X, Y, and Z. And it was broken. It was very much just a proof of concept, but like it would be cool to have that style of like oh, you get this tech that you can like evolve a bunch of different EVs, have them all evolve into different stuff, and have it all be really cool. But it only works because it's just for that deck, and that deck ultimately ends up being like maybe A or B tier. But that was a super cool, like, that's something I'd really like to see happen. Like, put Fusion Strike System on a Leafeon, dude. I don't care. Make EV Strike System. Like,
that would be cool.
It does feel like we are getting a repetition. So, like, if you map out Sword and Shield and the set releases and sort of like the mechanics, like, we are on a very similar trajectory. Like, I do predict a Battle Styles and Fusion Strike type set within like 6 to 8.
True. I'm surprised that wasn't like, Temporal Forces, because we got the Future and Ancient.
I think Temporal Forces. So like Shrouded Fable kind of felt like an outlier, but like Obsidian Flame sort of felt like Darkness Ablaze.
Yeah, I can see that.
Twilight Masquerade has like, it's kind of out of order, but had a bit of like Lost Origin appeal.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like, it's maybe not the same trajectory, but it feels like the Ancient Future thing had a bit of that.
Yeah.
So it feels like we're going to end up.
I do like that we're still getting more support for it. Like even though it's just like Iron Crown, like a single prize Iron Crown, like
they're still putting them.
They're still putting them in the set, which means
that's a conversation we had where it was like, is this going to be a 2-set thing and then gone forever, or
yeah.
I like that too, that they're going to keep kind of popping them in here and there.
It's cool, even if it's like 2 or 3 at a time. It's nice to just have support for certain archetypes, because someday Future Box is going to be good. Someday. It won't be today, probably not tomorrow either, but it's going to be good.
I think Ancient Box might be good right now because of how the last region.
Ancient Box rocks right now, in fact.
Yeah.
I'm very pro Ancient Box. Very good deck. What else is in here that we have not talked about? Are you guys play GLC at all?
I have a couple decks, but like the opportunity to play around here, a lot of people prefer to do like cubing over playing like GLC.
That is crazy to me, but
yeah, I agree. I also think that's crazy.
I have never played a cube, and I've played GLC a lot.
I think the idea of cube is cool. We have some people that like to play it here, but I don't necessarily have interest in GLC or cube, but I feel like I would rather play GLC than cube.
I think singleton formats in general are cool. Like, I feel like I could play any card game, even if I've never played it before, with a singleton format and feel like happy to play the game.
Yeah.
Sure.
Except Commander.
Yeah. I ask because there's some really cool stuff you get for GLC in this deck. There's been conversations about like a game show style deck where we put like all the cards together that can have your opponent kind of like play the game for you, and time is one of those, where you tell your opponent the name of a Pokemon in your hand and put that Pokemon face down in front of you. Your opponent guesses its HP, then you reveal it. If your opponent guessed right, they draw 4, and if they guess wrong, you draw 4, and then you put the Pokemon back in your hand. Stuff like that. Stuff like Swordward and Shieldbert, which are like not good cards, but it's a cool effect that like you get to make your opponent like have a fun game that they get to play to interact with your deck. It'd be cool to see like a list like that come out.
Could you play Time and Blaine in the same deck?
What does Blaine say?
The Blaine. There's the one Blaine card that's like it's the same thing, but you used to use an attack. You declare an attack name. They have to guess the Pokemon that it's on. I forget the exact card.
Oh, let me look it up. Hold on.
I don't think I've ever looked before, but Cyclozar EX with the trumpet feels like it could be pretty good.
I have never read that card. I literally looked at it moments ago and did not read it.
I mean, he's got a Terra border, so I would assume.
Yeah. It seems fine. Drawing 5 is a lot. That's a lot of draw.
Yeah. So Zircon Road, 180 damage.
Yeah.
You may draw 5 cards.
But 180 isn't like important, so I'm not sure. I found the card. It's Blaine's Quiz Show. What's did that come out in? Unified Minds? Is that legal in GLC right now? Oh, it is.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, Blaine's
I don't know enough
Show.
about GLC.
It's black and white forward. It's put a Pokemon from your hand face down in front of you and tell your opponent the name of an attack it has. Your opponent guesses the name of the Pokemon, and then you reveal it. And if your opponent guessed right, they draw 4. If they guess wrong, you draw 4. So it's the same thing, but a little different.
It's pretty close, yeah.
That's
probably harder to answer than Time.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. That's cool though. I like the idea of that. Like all those cards together, it's a cool concept. I like the idea of the Azelf UC Mesprit deck in GLC as well, just because it's hype to me. And those arts are gorgeous. I kind of hope it becomes a single prize deck that we see. I'm sure it won't, but like 2 damage counters on each of your opponents for 1 psychic, and then like being able to do 10 more damage for like double the damage counters on all of your opponent's Pokemon, or like on whatever the active is. It's pretty good. Like, and then 160 to the active is very cool. 160 to the active.
I will say, like, both. For all the cool cards in this set that I think I can't wait to try out, like I'm gonna just try a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Like Duskball is just super annoying.
Yeah, Duskball is bad.
Because like anyone that uses Duskball is gonna end up with a DPL at some point for like flipping a card, for like counting incorrectly. Yep. It's like just play Great Ball.
Just play Great Ball. Stop making judges' lives hard.
Yeah.
But if they Iono you,
all right,
I'm
well,
just saying.
All right, are you a Digging Duo fan as well? Tell me what Digging Duo does off the top of your head.
Yeah, also, that's the guy that absolutely hates Pheasantipity.
Oh, well, yeah. Gosh. Pheasantipity is bad card design, and no one's talking about it.
TM Fluorite, I actually popped one of those boys into the Lost Box.
Oh, yeah?
Probably he's going to come out.
I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about it. I could see it on a Cramorant, maybe.
Yeah, I actually don't think it's good, but it's like one of those things. It's new. I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm still hoping that maybe someday Rotom V-Star Tool Drop will be good now that we have a bunch of TMs.
There's the one that searches 3 TMs out of your deck, right? I don't think we get that yet, though. I think that's after Rotom goes away.
Yeah, it is. Well, you could also just play Toolbox right now, where it's look at the top 7 and put any number of tools.
Rotom going away is gonna have like a crazy effect on the meta.
Which is surprising because when that card first came out, it was bulk.
Yeah, it didn't see like Charizard was support.
Yeah. Like it was nothing. Any other noteworthy EXs? Palossand is cool. Sylveon's cool. Latias is going to be crazy good.
I kind of like don't hate anything in the whole set.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that I like really dislike, other than cards that are objectively bad. Like this Beckoning Tail Meowstic is not going to see play, which is sad because it's cool. It's a cool idea.
And usually Meowstic is a good support Pokemon.
Yeah.
We had that complaint. Chris and I actually had that conversation about the last couple of sets where Pokemon that are typically really good support Pokemon have been basically useless.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do we got? Oh yeah, we said we were going to talk about this. Rotom. Let's have a conversation about Crushing Pulse Rotom.
Yes.
Real quick. What? So, Rotom is an 80 HP lightning basic Pokemon with an attack called Crushing Pulse for 1 lightning energy, where your opponent reveals their hand and you discard all item and tool cards you find there. That's stupid. Yeah. That's going to be genuinely so ridiculous.
And I think the worst part about it, or the best, however you want to define it, is it's a singular electric or lightning energy.
Yeah.
That's pretty splashable.
Yeah, very easy to make happen.
Like, I half joking when I was putting Pikachu EX together, like Chris had actually sent the translation over to me, and I was like, I'm going to take Cramorant out and put this in.
Yeah. Why not?
Like, forget the 110. I'm just going to take all of your resources.
Just put your hand in the discard. Just put it there.
Like, go second. They wrote him a bunch of stuff in their hand, and then I just wipe it away.
Well, at EUIC last year, round 2, I played a guy playing Arctina, and I was playing Charizard, and he Eeried turn 2 and discarded 2 rare candies. I just picked up my deck. I was like, I came to London for this, man. That's good. This card is.
And then, in what world in Arctina is Eerie the best first supporter?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's the first card he plays, and I'm like, and it's not like I added to the rare candies to my hand or something. Like he made me go first. Like it was blind Eerie his turn 1. I was like,
that's crazy.
Dang.
Yeah.
And you were already going to struggle.
Yes, already.
You already had the advantage.
Yeah. That's bad.
Yeah. We're getting a new Gimme Ghoul, so Golden Go might be good. Probably not.
I think Golden Go is good.
It's pretty good right now.
Play.
I think it's super underrated. Actually, I am willing to A tier Golden Go.
Wow.
Put 7 different energies in your deck and play Energy Search Pro.
Man, if only Fairy Energy was still legal. That's the big brain play. Is they reprint fairies, then you play Energy Search Pro. You get an extra energy type off of that. You can blow anything up. You're good.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah, actually, LDF right now is really big.
I did see that. Yeah. It's cool.
It's good. I think it's a good deck.
It's a very good deck in the blow everything up format because you also get to draw cards, and that's something you can't do with.
It blows everything up and draws.
Yeah,
cards
that's something.
Too. So, like, I legitimately think
that's
good.
Something that you would have to
it's
have
like
Ogerpon and Raging Bolt for.
I think it's like one of those things where, like, if you're someone that likes Chenpo, you might as well just like,
yeah.
Which is funny because I think
there used to be a time when I thought opposite.
3 or 4 months ago, yeah, you would say, well, if you want to play Golden Go, just play Chenpo.
You might as well just play Chenpo.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very weird how that.
And I think the scales may tip again.
Oh, certainly. We're gonna
like when Greninja is gone, you're gonna go. You absolutely don't play Chenpo.
Yeah.
You 100% play Gold.
Losing Greninja is going to be kind of crazy. Losing Greninja, Radiant Greninja like that.
That card is in the Hall of Fame. That's a Hall of Famer for sure.
That's like, yeah.
It's been the best card in format the entire time it's been.
There's never been a format where it's been a bad card.
Correct.
It's funny because like people will ask me like a lot of my Yu-Gi-Oh player friends will ask me like, what's the best Pokemon card? And like Greninja is the easiest is the answer, but it's funny because they don't get why. But it's like an insane. They read Professor's research and go, that's the best card. But
yeah,
Radiant Greninja is a crazy card.
Remember when you can scoop up net it and then use it again?
It's crazy. You look at your deck.
Jeez,
that's valid.
Yeah,
that's valid. Yeah.
No, Radiant Greninja, like people have affected their deck construction for the last 2.5 years
because it exists.
We don't know what we're gonna do without it, frankly. Like,
yeah,
when Radiant Greninja's gone,
play Ogerpon.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe played Red of Room for us. Like, it's the same, right? It's not.
Everyone's
spoilers.
Like, no one's like thinking about what happens when Greninja rotates, but like what happens when Greninja rotates.
Yeah.
Big basics aren't going to be as strong for sure.
Yeah. True.
The churn and burn is not going to be as big of a thing.
Yeah. Let's see. What else is any good? Black Kyurem EX is bad. I think we all know it.
Kyurem's always like one of those cards where you're so excited.
And then it sucks.
Although I saw someone played Kyurem VMAX recently to like a cup and white.
That's based. That's super based.
I did see that.
Yeah.
What do we think about this Milotic EX? Because there's been a lot of talk about it.
I think it's good, but I don't know why I think it's good. Is that fair?
I'm inclined to agree with you.
Yeah.
For that exact reason, in fact.
Yeah. Like, I look at it, I'm like, this has utility and it's going to be good in.
I think that in the whatever 2.5 years or whatever that it'll be in format or however long it is, there will be a point in time where it's like the best card.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when we were talking when we did the pre-release. Was it for Stellar Crown where the Ledian they'll like bring up a 90 HP or lower, whatever it is. Like that's a card that's like good, but not right now.
Yeah,
but like it's gonna
someday
be here for
that
a while.
card is gonna make a stream play that makes everybody pop off.
Right. It's interesting. One of those like interesting things. Like it's a card that could be good at some point.
Yeah,
but I don't know when.
It's cool because it gives you kind of an insight into like what the Pokemon company is going to print or what creatures is going to print. The same way Black Kyurem and Clefairy or Clefable EX do, right? Because in the same way that right now we don't have a lot of stuff that's going to have 90 HP or less on it that you can boss up for a big play. Like it's also the same way that we don't have a lot of impactful dragon Pokemon other than Dragapult. And that's what would be necessary for Black Kyurem and for Clefable to be any good. So what that tells me is there's going to be dragon types that are oppressively good, where you're going to need something like Black Kyurem and Clefable to offset that.
Or is it Spiritomb?
Or is it Spiritomb? That's also a possibility.
Like Spiritomb was going like Drapion couldn't kill Mew, so Spiritomb's going to kill Mew. because Spiritomb was going to kill Mew, people didn't think they had to play Spiritomb because no one was going to play Mew, and then Mew won like 4 straight events.
Yeah.
I think Mew was an exception to the rule. I genuinely don't think that we're ever going to see another deck like that, even though we're going to see basically the same deck when Zoroark exists.
There's still a bigger price to pay, right?
Yeah.
With Zoroark.
Well, true, but also it's not 3 prizes, and like
I think there's always going to be like a lot of the good cards we saw in Sword and Shield. I think like there was a huge power surge.
Yeah.
So I think there's always going to be like that plus.
Mm-hmm.
Like Genesect V, like obviously like Mew was strong, but Genesect V was the strongest card in the deck.
Yes.
Path of the Peak was super strong. Like I think we'll get a stadium that's Path of the Peak, but it's gonna be like Path of the Peak if.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Right? Like I don't think you'll see another Path of the Peak. I think the game, they know that was ridiculous.
The same way we didn't get Skyfield exactly. We got Era Zero.
Right.
There's a Yu-Gi-Oh card, infamous Yu-Gi-Oh card called wow. It's not very infamous if I can't remember the name.
Don't say Punisher.
Give me one moment because it's been a long time since I played Yu-Gi-Oh.
That's fine.
You played last week,
hey,
so you should remember every card.
Calm down.
Whoa, don't expose them like this.
Mystic Mine.
I feel like I've heard of Mystic Mine, and I have never played Yu-Gi-Oh.
It's a very infamous Yu-Gi-Oh card that says, I will read the card for you, because...
That's what it says? Dang.
I think it says I'll read the card for you.
Whoa.
It says, if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, your opponent cannot activate monster effects or declare an attack.
That's gross.
If you control more monsters than your opponent, same thing. If at the end of the turn, if both players control the same number of monsters, destroy the card. I think Path to the Peak 2.0 could be similar to that, where like,
yeah, I like that.
If you have more prizes than your opponent remaining, they can't activate abilities. If they have more prizes remaining than you, you can't activate abilities.
True.
Like, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be a price to it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can see that. I could totally see that. Well, because then that also adds it as, and this is absolutely like conspiracy theory level of like thoughts, but like then you could also play something like that with a card like Slacking EX. And just
which I actually think is another underrated card.
Yes, it's tough to turn off your own abilities.
Ogre Bolts or Ogrepon's.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, it's crazy town. This is a really wild set. Oh, one we have to talk about because everybody else is. What do we think of this Gastrodon? Gastrodon has Sticky Bind. It says as long as this Pokemon is on your bench, stage 2 Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's, have no abilities.
So I did see that, and when I saw it at first, I was like, oh, this card is insane. And then I thought about it for 5 minutes, and I don't think it's that good.
I'm inclined to agree, but explain.
I think there are too many ways to Gus Pokemon right now.
Yes.
And maybe not every deck is playing as many Gus as they can, but I think that if this card was popular enough and it affected enough decks that you'd just play one more boss, or you'd play one more Pokemon catcher, whatever the deck calls for.
Yeah.
But and obviously like it's not affecting Ogerpon.
Right.
That's a big problem, right? Inherent.
And I think too, like you are seeing, it is a lot more common to evolve the active Charmander.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I think when and you would know better than anyone, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. Sure. I think there was a time when like you sort of protected like the attached Charmander onto the bench, and then like would evolve and spread and retreat, whatever. Whereas I think now, like if active Charmander survives, you're just evolving.
Yeah.
And like there's not a whole lot of other decks that's going to have a huge impact on, right?
Yeah, I think it like very obviously affects decks like Charizard Pidgeot. Like you would have to like bring up the Pidgeot, search, retreat it into the Charmander.
Yeah.
Then do the Charizard. Like it just makes your sequencing a little bit different, but it's like very avoidable, right? It's not really going to affect you.
Yeah.
And or like
especially if they're taking knockouts, like you just push Pidgeot, grab what you need.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. Or there's like
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, keep going.
I think the only deck that this is ever good in is Alakazam EX. because you put this on the bench, you put Fluttermane in the active, and then you snipe, and then you attack with Alakazam. And that's your only way that this card is good.
Yeah. I think there's too many. It does a lot of cool. It's like there. I always say this to my friend. I say there are a lot of strong words printed on that card, but it doesn't mean it's a strong card.
Yeah, I agree. So. I agree with that entirely.
Yeah.
What is this?
It's kind of like the opposite of Milotic, where like we know it will be good.
Sure.
We just don't know why or
yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, this looks like it's very good,
yeah.
but we don't think it may ever.
Right.
Be. Like.
Yeah. Super strange. Anything else really noteworthy?
That being said, Gastrodon getting spoken about, very good.
Yes, I do love. I'm a big Gastrodon enjoyer. I love Gastrodon from a design standpoint. I think that little slug rocks. I think it's cool that there's two of them.
I think every gooey Pokemon, in general,
if you watch a VGC stream where you go to the VGC area of the spectating chairs at an event and Gastrodon is on the screen, you'll hear a lot of cheering. So
that's hype. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else is there in here before we kind of start to wrap up, because we are breaking the record for the previous longest episode, also with the Unplugged Gaming crew.
I think the only other thing that I would bring up is the Alicia's appeal, the like boss alternative.
Oh yeah,
that's the last thing I can think of. I mean, if you have something else, but that's the one that I can think of that like this card's cool. I don't know if it's good, but you know.
It's got Serena appeal, right?
It's got switch in a benched basic to the active, and it's confused.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's good. I don't know if it'll be like it's good in this format for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Bring up like a supporting Pokemon that is like a problem, and then have it not be able to do anything. Gravity Mountain is a really impactful stadium. The -30 to stage 2s.
Oh yeah. This stuff, the stage 2 hate that we didn't need because we already have enough of it.
Yeah. I think it's good to bring Charizard back in line a little bit, but I think I think it'll be like a one of in some decks. I don't think it'll be enough to like, because I don't think Charizard's gonna get popular enough to warrant Gravity Mountain being played in every deck. So and for that reason I think it's fine.
Yeah. Well, I just like saw.
I don't even know.
Go ahead.
If it like helps math that much.
I don't know the math.
Like
it makes it so that you only have to hit 300 with something like well, I'm trying to think like what hits 300 that
like it doesn't help. I guess is it Chin-Pao?
It could be Chen-Pao.
Could be Chen-Pao.
Chen-Pao, right? Like
right now it's Palkia.
Bolt, but Bolt is always going to need the extra energy.
Yeah, true. Right now it's
like regardless.
I see that and I think that could be really cool. Again, in maybe because Palkia you need big bench to even hit those numbers, so it doesn't.
Yeah, you would need. Yeah.
And like again, Chen-Pao, Pokestop is still too good.
Pokestop is low key one of the most impactful F block cards that was ever in the game, and it was bulk when it came out.
That is.
So was Snorlax.
True.
Yeah. That whole set is like that.
It's weird that's also going to rotate. It's another one of those cards where it's like you don't think about it, and then you're like, oh, it's gone.
Yeah, it's so good. Because sometimes it's just draw 3 every turn. Surfer, very good card. Very, very good card. Especially when we're losing a lot of draw engines, being able to draw up to 5 and switch the active, very good.
Yeah,
very, very good.
Yeah. Really going through the list, this does feel like a good pre-rotation set.
Yeah.
Because it sets us up to be able to survive that first kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Like the most awkward formats are always that like first pre-rotation.
Yeah.
I think
post-rotation.
I think it makes you less apprehensive for rotation.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like not worrying about like, oh, the rotation set has to be crazy. Like no, because this one is fine.
Yeah.
Because like Scarlet and Violet wasn't.
True. No, not at all.
Right?
Not at all. But like we're getting very cool, like not like sexy cards, but stuff like Surfer where it's switch drop to 5, and like Cyrano where it's like search for 3 EXs. It's not perfect, but like it's something.
No, it'll create utility when there's a lot of ambiguity.
Yeah.
Like in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Even something simple like Terapagos where it's like search for 3 basic energy cards of different types and put them on your Terra Pokemon. Like that's
Pretty good.
just fine. It's like it's something that I could see being played.
And it's nice because it doesn't have 30 HP like Joltik. So
true.
Yeah, I mean, not for nothing, like you said, in like Terrapagos, like if you were to like Surfer then like double orb in a turn,
pretty good.
Like pretty dumb.
It's pretty good. Yeah. Also, one other thing. Yeah, this is kind of this was controversial. Togekiss. Wonder Kiss is the ability that says when your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out, flip a coin. If heads, take one more prize card. The effect of Wonder Kiss doesn't stack.
Yeah.
I don't think we need more dice rolling.
I agree.
You don't like just rolling the dice to decide the fate of the game? You don't?
No. Especially like I'm like an 8 out of 10 tails kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like I can't win for losing. So
I
no.
think it's not necessarily unhealthy for the format, but it is scary to have around. Especially when we have 151 Chansey in the game, where you can just be like, yes, I'm going to take extra prizes. They're all going to be Chanseys, and then I'm going to be able to like put them on the bench and take all my prizes in one turn.
Well, you know you're going to go to a tournament at some point in your life, and you're going to lose round 1. You're going to be at table 947.
And you're going to play the Togekiss Blissey.
This guy. This is the guy you're going to hit, and you're going to lose. And you're going to want to go home.
That was me and Charlotte when I ran into, like, Path, Solrock, Lunatone with Shadow Rider. Like, get away from me. You're a sicko.
Yeah.
And that's when, like, you know, like, and you, at the time you're thinking, okay, just play Inteleon in this game. I'm fine. And you literally start only Urshifu attachment.
Yeah. It's gross. It's gross times.
Yeah.
I think that's card is going to be important to keep a lookout for, but I don't think it's going to damage the game too much. Everything else seems fine. I feel like we've exhausted this. Oh, there's Scovillain. Every time I turn around, there's new cards.
I feel like Scovillain's another one where I looked and I was like, I think it's good.
Oh, it's very good. Spicy Rage is broken. Radiant Heatran is an insane card, and it took us having like Arc Armourouge to realize that. Spicy Rage is going to be a bananas attack, and it's going to come up.
I played Radiant Heatran and Arceus Heatran VMAX.
Goated card.
With Pokemon Thunder Lady.
Yeah. Insane. Yeah. Just being able to do that much damage is crazy. I remember I had I had a really stupid deck for a while where I had made Radiant Heatran the only attacker, and it was doing like 1,000 damage every time I swung with it. And I was like, okay. I was using like damage pumps. It was terrible deck. But
it's like the Radiant Steelix, right? Where like you just like
Radiant Steelix is cool.
Clear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like that card.
It's a cool card.
Double typing is always good.
Yeah. Because that also hits Charizard for weakness.
Yep. I think I prefer double typing on a single prizer.
Yeah. I agree.
Like I really like the Kecleon that we lost last rotation. Yeah. I liked it in Lost Box in particular with like super effective goggles.
Yes, that was a cool card. That card is part of one of very few infinite combos in Expanded.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
So like, and that was cool because like there was no Lost Zone 10 pressure in that deck. It was just like get to 7 and kill. And you put down a town store and just win. So I do prefer the double typing in a single prizer, but anytime there's double typing, it's like worth a shot.
I miss Steam Siege dual typing instead of it being on an ability.
I don't miss opening Steam Siege cards.
Well, no one misses opening Steam Siege cards. But to be fair, I'd rather pull stuff from Steam Siege than the different art for Venusaur EX. That card sucks.
True. I agree.
You know what I mean?
Take those away.
Yeah.
No.
We got him again, though. Thank goodness.
I guess.
Thank goodness I have 8 Blastoise EX now.
Yeah, thank God I literally got a binder full of Lucario EXs. Also, Creatures tried to print a playable Lucario challenge. Impossible. Like, we had the Lucario V-Star from Crown Zenith that sucked. We had, like...
The Brilliant Stars single prizer was, like, good.
Very cool. But, like, that was Brilliant Stars. That's when I first got back into the game. Like, it's time. It's time for a new one. Please. Yeah. I'm begging. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I think we've exhausted this. The new dragons are cool, but I don't really care to go into all those. Eternatus is cool. Single prize Eternatus.
I think that's a cool card.
Slacking. Yeah. Kecleon. is not cool. Not all that cool. Yeah. A lot of the new A specs are very cool.
There's a lot of them.
There are a lot.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Which is good.
A lot in one set.
Enriching energy is bad, but somebody will play it. Probably.
I don't know. Has anyone played like? Wasn't there an event where there was more people not playing Apex than there were playing the duo?
The Neo Upper? Yes, there was exactly.
The Neo Upper.
Well, that's every event now because Terra Crystal exists or Sparkling Crystal. So
Sparkling Crystal.
But that stat was shocking.
Yeah. So who knows? Cool. That is just about everything we had to talk about. We're way over time right now, so we definitely cannot talk about the Game Freak leaks. But if you guys are down to at some point in the near future, we will probably just do like a little bonus episode and talk about the Game Freak leaks.
Yeah. Schedule something.
Yeah.
In the near future for sure.
Because
I think Jay usually is pretty on the pulse of that stuff too. So
gotta definitely get him in the call for it. Because that's some exciting stuff. But yeah, we have definitely exhausted the surging spark stuff. I'm excited, and it's nice to leave on a happier note than talking about the tournament stuff.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's good when you can talk this long about a set because I mean, look at Stellar Crown.
True.
We would have had a 10-minute conversation about Trapagos and Noctal and signed off.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I need to open turtles. I didn't. I had to buy them.
And they're $10 a piece. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Conversation over. Yeah, conversation.
Good luck. Have fun. GG. Go next. Sign this lip. Like.
Yeah.
That's all. Which is cool. I definitely like being able to talk more extensively about sets.
Yeah.
It's nice to have things to talk about in the game because, like I said, like things feel kind of boring right now and not super great, depending on who you ask. So having stuff to look forward to, stuff to get excited about, even if it's not just this next set, but like stuff coming afterwards, and just like having hope for the future design choices of this game that we love so much. That's really inspiring to me and keeps me playing for sure.
Like I said, we talked a lot about how this set makes us hopeful about rotation.
Yeah.
So anything that has us looking that far ahead.
Yeah. Which is exciting for me because I'm scared of rotation. I'm terrified of rotation, in fact, because this will be the first rotation where I will have seen every card that will like now be in standard. I will have been there when it came out. Because then it'll be 8 G block forward, and I've been there for all of the releases of G block, so like that's kind of scary for me. So it'll all be the new stuff, and none of it will be old anymore. But it'll push me to grow as a player as well, so that's exciting. And this is a more comforting set for that kind of stuff because there'll be cool stuff, there'll be silly stuff, there'll be really, really potent stuff, and then there'll be stuff in between, and that's always a good place to be in for a game. Cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's about all the time we've got, and then some. We're rapidly approaching the 3-hour mark, and we're not hitting that. Not this episode. Maybe the next time that I have you guys on the show, we'll hit 3 hours. We'll inch closer every time I have Unplugged on the show.
Next time we'll have like a 20-minute episode and then just I'll sign up.
Yeah. Real. But yeah, let's wrap it up there, fellas. Where let's start with Chris. Where can we find you? What are some links for you? Some socials? I
don't post a ton about Pokemon anywhere, but I am on Twitter. It's kind of an annoying handle to speak into existence.
You can just say it, and I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, it's at Amanyatsu. It's AMANYATSU. My name was taken, so I had to add a Y. But I'm just on Twitter. I post sometimes about Pokemon, but not a ton. I do a lot of other stuff that gets put on there, not Pokemon. But that's really, I don't have like a YouTube or I don't do any of that stuff right now. So
cool.
Yeah, we're kind of working on that stuff coming down the pipe.
It's something we want to do with Unplugged, but we just haven't like, I think last year a lot of us were focused, like we mentioned earlier, like on like grinding the tournaments and stuff, and I think that this year might be a better time for us to sit down and work that out.
Listen, as soon as you're there, let me know. I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll have you
Please,
Yeah.
that'd be
for
awesome.
4 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 hours.
Yeah.
We'll make it a full 8-hour shift of podcasting. Will, where can people find you, man?
So the best place for all of us in general is, and we are slowly getting better about it, is we have a Facebook group
We do have
page,
that. Yeah.
for the Unplugged Gaming team. And that's actually, we'll do a lot of interactions with the stores page as well from there. But anytime one of us top cuts or has a decent performance, we are very open with our deck lists and stuff. Like if we see success, we want to see if other people see success with those kinds of things. So like if we have a good list, you'll see us throwing them out there if we perform. And then X, Twitter, whatever it is,
Sure.
I'm Will_UGTCG because of course Will_TCG was gone. And again, like I try to remember to post and look, but a lot of times it's again just me throwing my weird lost box creations up there and seeing
Sure.
what happens. And then like liking everything that Nick Moffat said. So
Nice. Awesome. I will leave all of these links in the description. As always, I can be found here on this YouTube channel, also on Spotify, and in the Greater Charlotte Discord. All my links are in a link tree below, so I will leave mine underneath these fine feathers here. Again, it's been so awesome to have you guys on. I very much look forward to going over to some of the league stuff with you guys in the near future.
awesome.
And yeah, and just continuing to, I can't wait to see what you guys start putting out this season. I'm excited to see what comes of the team, what your performances look like, and when I can see you guys on the stream. Hopefully, we're in the jerseys playing some good games of Pokemon at any major.
That's the hope. We're good enough to. We just gotta like actually.
You got it. I know you can. I'm excited for it. That's what I'm hoping for. Cool. Well, thank you guys again.
Nice, man. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. That's all I got. If you're on YouTube watching, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Visit Will and Chris's links. Please show them some love. All that's in the description. If you're on Spotify, just leave a good review. Share with your friends, something like that. It helps out a lot and allows me to continue doing this. Thanks so much, and have a good night.